we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in as Allison Gray joins us from jolly old England to talk about all the cool stuff with psychic intuition and ability. Yes, it's going to be fun. And what makes this show fun is all of you being here with us tonight, including Tim Mothman with his 5th gold medal this week and his goatee winning gold as well. Race Fan with a silver, Wild Berry with a nice bronze medal this week. High Carrot in the Woo Train, Michael Morris, Chris 716. Good to see you all. Dino Bravo, nice to have you here. Laura Lobbs and Kathy Evans, nice to see you. Melvin, Les Paul Holland, strumming away. Nice to see you guys. Hi, Deidre. How are you? Forrest Louis, how you doing, my man? Hey, there's number 29 in your program from Stockholm, Sweden, starting at center ice, Lars Janssen. Phyllis Boucher Perry, how are you? And Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love you, Human Carl. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Luscious Jules. Nice to see you. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Brown Dwarf is back. Brown Dwarf will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. John Lamb, Operation Shutdown. W. Decker, how you guys doing? The Soothsayer, Lord Buckethead. Rock out, buddy. Keep on rocking. All right, continuing on. Christine Lynn, thank you for joining us. Hi, Digger Dog. Canna Chef Chris. And who's next on our list? Benching 375 pounds 21 times tonight. Al Garay on Twitch. There he is. Now, leg pressing 800 pounds tonight. Little Cam on Twitch. Good to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us. Aloha, Dave. How you doing? Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Anna Boeing, it's been a while. Nice to see you. As we continue on with roll call, there's Dragonfly and Spirit Fox. Spirit Fox will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, how you doing? Eternity Eternal, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Vanessa, good morning to you, or good evening to you. And who else is next here on our roll call list? Well, let's take a little peeky-poo here. Necessary Dialogue, thank you for joining us. Phineas over on X, good to have you here. We are caught up on roll call so far, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I know more of you will come in, and I will say hello to each and every one of you. Lee, how are you? Hello, beauties. Yes, thank you. I'm feeling beautiful tonight. I really am. So thank you, Lee. And want to remind everybody that you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can actually be proud to wear our clothing out in public because it's not embarrassing. You can wear it more than to a garage sale or mowing the lawn or painting the house. No, you can actually wear ours out to a nice restaurant or bar or a lounge or wherever you want to go. It's awesome. It's awesome. Christine Lynn, thank you. It's Forrest Louis' birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Forrest Louis. Happy birthday to you. Super Knower, how you doing, man? Good to have you here. All right, let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the podcast and radio side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going into spirituality, intuition, and psychic connection. Allison Gray is with us as our guest as we await Bill WD-40 to lube us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You never want to get rigid. There he is, currently lubing us up as we speak. Thank you, Bill, for joining us. And you're welcome for us, Louie. Bearer Begetter. How you doing? Good to have you here. That's right. Bill WD-40 is always lubing us up. He cares about us. That's why he uses only the top WD-40 lube to get things done. Hi, Nina Williams. How you doing? And want to remind all of you, the super chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So we really appreciate the love. That's right, Deidre. No chafing when Bill WD-40 lubes us up. That is 100% correct. Yes, the super chat is open, and we really appreciate the help that you guys give us each and every night. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Jive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Jive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show planned out for you tonight. I know I say that each and every night, but you know what? Tonight's going to be special because we're getting into psychic intuition with Allison Gray. What's it like to be able to chat with dead people? What's it like to chat with deer and goats and plants and trees and, you know, maybe even the clouds in the sky? We're going to find out from Allison here in a little bit. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing joins us with another creepy story. Follow that up. It's UFO court time. Courtney Marcassani joins us from the East Coast as she is still on assignment. Let's get right to it. Allison Gray is a psychic medium, healer, and spiritual teacher. She has been giving professional readings for over the past decade, incorporating guidance and spiritual counseling. She received ongoing positive feedback that her readings are honest, empathetic, and often healing. Allison is often able to help her clients feel more confident and empowered, and therefore able to turn negative circumstances into positive ones by connecting them with their higher self. We're going to learn all about this tonight, and I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. Allison Gray, thank you so much for waking up early in the United Kingdom to join us on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you very much for having me on your radio show.
Oh, not a problem. We're going to have some fun tonight. How old were you when you learned that you were psychic?
Well, I don't know whether it's when I learned that I was psychic, but I definitely had a lot of experiences when I was younger. Lots of experiences that I couldn't really understand, and I didn't know what was going on. A lot of spooky things going around me, feeling things, sensing things. And it wasn't really until I was older that I understood what was going on, probably when I was my late teens, maybe 19, 20. But up to then, it was kind of like fumbling in the dark. And around about when I was 10, I had my first kind of experience when my grandfather died, and he came to me in my dream. So that was probably the first time that I realized that there was something different going on with me.
Wow. You know what? I think many of us have had that type of experience where a loved one passes early in our lives and we're still open enough because we're missing them to
Yeah.
be able to see them. I remember, and I don't consider myself psychic, but I seem to have a keen sense of knowing what's going to go on. But I remember going back to when my grandfather died, and this is going back to 1995. Oh my goodness, I'm aging myself here. But he was actually coming to me, and it was really creepy because I remember one night I actually saw the shape of his head, and it was a cloudy, gloomy evening, and the dark clouds actually were like in the shape of his head, and that kind
Wow.
of tripped me out. But then to learn that my uncle and I were having the same dream of my grandfather, where his face would start off way far away, like maybe, the size of a penny, and then it would zoom right in and
Wow.
like be face to face. And it was just his face, no body, no nothing. And my uncle and I had that same dream for like 2 months, and it
Wow.
was trippy. I still don't know what that meant, but man, it affect me.
In a positive way?
Oh yeah. But it
Yeah.
still creeped me out though, you know?
Yeah. I think they do that, I mean, particularly in the dreams. When we're in dream state, we're kind of taking our bodies out, our consciousness is changing and we're very different. And it's like we've taken our thoughts out, our minds out, our ego out, everything. So we are more susceptible to have those visitations at nighttime because we're not getting ourselves in the way. So it's a lot easier for them to come and visit us, which is why a lot of us have the dreams.
So going back to your grandfather, were you close with him? And
So
do you think that's the reason why he came to you?
definitely. I mean, he was a big part of our upbringing. We used to go and visit him every Saturday, and I have like fond memories of that. Constantly. I wouldn't say I was his favourite grandchild, though. That was the really strange thing. I thought my sister was more the favourite grandchild, but maybe it was because I was a sensitive child that he was able to come through to me. And my sister's very scared of all of this. So yeah, and I think what happened with me is that in the dream, I used to have it was like a recurring dream. So you said, like for 2 months, I used to dream this for a lot, on and off, for a couple of years actually. But the one dream really that stood out to me was that I'd gone to visit him, and it was always this, I'm back in my grandfather's house. I can see everything, wondering, where he'd gone to, why he was there, what was I doing. I knew I was asleep, but then my grandfather, and I knew he had passed away. So that was the difference. That's how I knew that this wasn't kind of like a normal dream. And on one occasion in this dream, we had dinner, and I was sitting at the table. Now, not for everybody, but like a traditional families, you get the head of the table. My grandfather always sat at the head of the table, and this particular time, for some reason, I was sitting at the head of the table, and he actually physically sat all the way through me. And I can still remember that feeling of, what on earth has gone on? I'm sitting here, my grandfather's sitting here. And I said to him, Grandpa, what's happening? He said, well, we're always connected. I'm always going to be here. And, at 10 years old, that's a bit weird and a bit strange. And I didn't really have anybody that I could ask about these things because my family weren't necessarily spiritual. They were more religious, really. We came from like a Christian background. So, I had to spend quite a long time trying to figure all these things out for myself.
I bet. I bet. And putting that through your mind, did you not come from a psychic family, or were you just kind of the one who got tuned in?
I think I was the one that got tuned in. Do you know what? Looking back, I think, we're all sensitive. We've all got the potential to be connected. We've all got intuition. It's about whether we are developing it or not. And I think some of us are a little bit more fine-tuned. So, for example, my sister will always get, if she knows that somebody is pregnant, she will always get the sex right. My mum has got that funny way of like always picking up the phone. Every time I ring, I was thinking about you, so everybody's got that perception. It's to what degree you go there for and develop it.
It's weird that they have that perception, but they never tune into it. And yet here you are, tuned into it, and it freaks your sister out.
It does. It does. She'll say to me, Alison, can you give me a reading? And she said, but don't tell me anything bad. So I'm not going to tell you anything bad. Yeah, no, she's not very good. She doesn't like spooky movies or anything. She's very scared. I was scared as a child. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and I used to feel what I thought was like a dark presence in my room, standing in the corner. I now know that that was my spirit guides, but at the time I didn't know what it was. And I used to hide under the covers. I used to go up to my mum and dad's room and they'd like send me back down, don't be silly, go back to sleep, there's nobody there. You know, I had that growing up as a child and it was quite scary.
How did you finally figure out that this was going to be something that you have, this talent you have, was going to be with you for a lifetime?
Yeah.
When did you accept it?
That's a very good question because when I was in my teenagers, I then started to getting involved with it. So I had tarot cards, I had crystals, and I started to read books on astrology. So, you know, when I was a little bit older, I knew that there was something out there. It wasn't until actually I had a failed relationship and my mum and suddenly said to me, I'd been with somebody for 4.5 years, quite a long time. And she said to me, you know, do you want to go to a clairvoyant? And I thought, what's one of them? I didn't know that existed. And that kind of first made me realize that there were other people out there that were having these experiences, and that were able to have a look and tune in and perhaps get information from the spirit world. By that point, my other grandfather had died and I'd had a dream about him too. So I didn't realize that he was ill. I knew he had an operation for a hernia, but I didn't know that he was ill at all. And I had a dream one evening. And again, as I said, we're not necessarily religious and particularly not Catholic. And in my dream, I'd gone to this church and there was like a confessions box. And I was with my sister and my two cousins. And we were all lining up to go into this confession box to say goodbye to Grandpa. And I had no idea what was going on. So all these little things. Oh, I woke up in the morning to the news that my grandfather had had an aneurysm and had collapsed and passed away, which was devastating because I was also very close to him too. And I think after those kind of both of those experiences, I've realised that there was something out there and that I needed to open up and perhaps find the right teacher to help me. But it wasn't until I had my second child that the images that I was getting and the signs that I were getting were so strong. I thought, yeah, you know, now is the right time. And I was in my 30s by that point. So I'd continued like with what I call a normal life as a teacher up until I was about 30. And I thought, yes, now is the time I'm going to step into this and own it and be brave.
Wow. 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 How did it affect you to all of a sudden take the deep dive into this? Because, you know, you don't want to, you know, you don't want to do it, but you have to do it, if that makes any sense. It's just your life is not fulfilled unless you go down that rabbit hole.
That's right. So again, I did spend a lot of time reading books. I mean, we didn't necessarily have like Google and things like that. So, you know, it was through books that I was getting a lot of my information. And being a primary school teacher, I was in a professional capacity. And, you know, to start saying to people that, you know, you talk to dead people, so to speak, you know, I had to try and keep two things separate. I had to keep my professional life. And then, you know, at home, I'd be like doing tarot card readings. I'd be linking in. I'd be doing the healing. I'd be looking at astrology. And then eventually I thought, this is part of me. This is who I am. And I was going down the route of meditation and mindfulness. And it just made a very lovely crossover. And sometimes, you know, maybe with your listeners, there's that point of, I have to come out of the closet. I'm going to have to do this because for me, it's a huge part of who I am and what I'm all about. And actually, the spirit world is such a beautiful place. And I only get that love from the spirit place. You know, my fear started when I began to understand everything about the spirit world. I realized that it wasn't scary, that they're here. They're only here for love. It's about connection. And they want us to prove that they're still over there, that their energy is still connected to us on a love vibration. So for me, it was like a beautiful step into working with the spirit world, having been quite scared when I was younger.
How long did it take for that fear to dissipate, that there were spirits like knocking on your door, your mental door, each and every
Well, the thing is, you learn how to, you learn discipline. So I'm very good at saying to the spirit world, my light is on, I'm working, my light is off, please leave me alone because I'm sleeping, I'm a mum, I have to do my day-to-day things. So no, it started to make sense to me. And when something resonates with you, that's when you begin to realize that actually it's not scary. I don't feel scared of the spirit world. When I'm making a cup of tea and the spirit will come in, I'll say to them, look, we have a reading in about 10 minutes, come and knock back on the door in 10 minutes. And it's a friendship, I see the spirit world now as a beautiful place and a friendship. And I treat them, I always believe that we have to treat them with respect as well. So it's nothing to fear. These are always somebody's loved ones. That's how I explain it to people.
How do you control it? How do you control what you're doing, what you're going through, who's coming to see you, what it's all about, so on and so forth?
So again, you can't actually control who's going to come in. So if I'm given a reading, I'll explain that to the people that I'm reading for, is that, sometimes people will come to me because they want one particular person to come through. They want to make that connection. They want to have that conversation. And I can't guarantee who's going to step in. The only thing I can guarantee is that somebody that they know or is here on a love vibration, that is here to pass on those messages of guidance, of love, reassurance. You usually do find the lovely ones that you want, but sometimes they come, I always say they come as a busload, and I see them all queuing up, waiting to come in, and I have to step in one at a time for them to talk. So sometimes I can read and, say, for example, it's a father and he takes the whole space and nobody else is allowed. I can say, you've got other people here, but your dad's not letting them in. Other times, they come as like mum and dad or nan and granddad, and then other people just pop in as well. So it's a little bit like a party. You just open the door and let them in.
Wow. I mean, and this doesn't bug you? This doesn't, you've obviously set your guidelines and your intentions saying,
Yes.
look, don't bug me when I'm in the shower. Don't bug me when I'm with my kids. Don't bug me when I'm sleeping.
So I think my loved ones bug me. I think they're always around, and that's absolutely fine, and I get comfort from that. But I don't. As you say, you set that intention. So I have a routine where I will open myself up. So I will ground myself. I'll put like protection around myself. Not that I need protection from the spirit world, because as I said, it's not a scary place. But this is my way. And then I open up all my chakras. And so I'm kind of, if you like, giving them the heads up that I'm switched on and I'm ready to work. And then when I finish my reading, I kind of not shut down my chakras, because you don't shut down your chakras, but you just pull in your energy, you pull in that aura, so they haven't got that space to connect with me. And that's kind of like my on-off switch button. They do pop into my dreams, they do pop in early, but generally speaking, you have to live a normal life. I can't walk around the supermarkets, connecting with everybody's loved ones, because actually, one, that's not professional. It's also not very nice if you're shopping or you're in the state of grief and somebody else is coming in and saying, oh, by the way, I've got such and such for you. It's a privacy thing as well. So I do, I'm very disciplined, and I set that boundary, and I think that's important. And then it stops me getting drained, stops me from having my energy, tampered with.
I find spiritual energy very heavy, especially on my shoulders and on my neck, to the point where the next day or two, it feels like I'm actually hungover. Do you have any repercussions from that spiritual talk?
No. Sometimes what will happen is I get tired. So when I'm working in the spirit light, when I'm working in the spirit energy, I feel very energized. But if I've got like a day of readings, or I'm doing a particularly difficult reading because there's a lot of grief around, you do feel a little bit depleted afterwards. But again, I bring through a white light and I cleanse my energy down. And I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of cleansing, a lot of clearing. Sometimes I light incense as well. So, I've learned over the years how to work within the energy of spirit and how to kind of like protect my own energy so that it's not depleted.
See, that's strange for me because even the people I know, yeah, they get tired. I get tired too, but the people I know, I mean, we all just seem to, it's almost like they have a big straw that's connected to you and they just suck up all the energy that you have. And I don't know what it is with me. And I got a couple friends like this who will actually, feel hungover. It's such a weird feeling.
Yeah. And do you have any routines? Do you open up and close down?
The only time I don't really pay attention to what I've learned. Okay, I'm very bad that way. Okay, but if I'm around people or if I'm put in that situation where I have to be, it's
Mm,
like, okay, I'm on. I talk to my one guy to ask him if I'm ready to go, and he'll usually say he's got a real surfer dude attitude. His name is Jordan, and he'll be like, "Yeah, man, let's get this going, man. You're okay. I got you." And then I
mm,
know it's time to go,
yeah.
right? But I mean, that being said, I know I've been attacked. I know
Mhm.
that I've had, you know, spirits inside of me and hitchhikers and channelers and all that kind of stuff. You know,
Wow. Yeah. For me, it's more about I surround myself in that light, and I feel like I have. I think my guides are very, protect me very well, and I have this sort of this on off button. Um, And yes, of course, I have people that come into my dreams and I have these faces that just come and I'm like, well, who are you? And then I ask the angels to come in, I ask my guides to come in, I surround myself with white light, and I'm just anything that's loving and light and fluffy perhaps is welcome. And anything darker, I'm not opening myself up to that. So I think, maybe for me, I've set that intentions over the years that I'm just not going to blend with that kind of a darker or a heavier energy.
no, and I don't blame you for that. I really don't because the last thing you want is darkness cast upon
Mm,
who you are, and there are a lot of dark psychics out there. I mean, this may sound foolish. Well, I don't really believe in psychics of the light. How could there be psychics of the dark? But there is, and those people are nasty. They are
mm,
very nasty.
yeah. I think sometimes, I had it was really funny. I went on a spiritually like how do you put it, like a haunted experience, and I went to this place that is supposed to be really haunted over here in England, and and I'm a medium and I'm a psychic. I can pick up these things and I pick up all the energy, but I take all my crystals with me, and I was taking like tourmaline. I'm taking all the dark crystals, the hematites and obsidians, and I'm protecting all my energy. And I go into this place, I'm thinking, it's not too bad, really. And then I realize that I've completely and utterly grounded myself, protected myself. So I didn't pick up a great deal, to be fair, because I had surrounded myself with that energy of, don't scare me, don't attach to me, don't show me any darkness. So now I don't bother going on these things anymore.
So you don't like the ghost hunting aspect of it all.
Do you know what I like about? I like it because it's spooky, and I do like old places. I love to feel the energy, but the work that I do is mainly I feel is for helping and healing others. So it's bringing that connection, bringing the communication between loved ones, and bringing them through with the guidance. And that way I can really validate my information that I'm getting. So if I'm bringing somebody in and I'm describing them and I'm telling them things about them as they were here or their relationship or what's been going on around the person,
Hold
for
on right
me,
there. Hold that thought.
okay.
We'll be right back. Allison Gray tells us what's it like to be psychic on Spaced Out Radio. Second half hour is right after this. All right, we are clear. That was a quick first half hour.
That's gone really quickly.
See, we're fun around here.
It
We are.
is fun. Yes.
All right. So since many of you are wondering, I got a new family member today. I adopted a 3-year-old who will be 4-year-old Chihuahua. Yeah, I adopted him today, and I've changed his name though because I didn't like the other name. He's a Chihuahua, which is a Mexican dog, but they named him Berlin. You can't have a Mexican dog named after a German city. Not that there's anything wrong with Germans or Berlin, but it just doesn't make sense. So I changed his name to El Guapo. Yes. If you remember the Three Amigos, El Guapo. So there is my little guy right there.
Oh,
I'm
it's
trying to get it.
gorgeous.
There we go. There's El Guapo. He is a whopping 4 pounds. And yes, I am trying to find him online now. A Lucha Libre Chihuahua mask. El Guapo, by the way, in Spanish means handsome.
Ah, definitely.
Yes. Yes, I'm just in love with him right now.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
I hadn't planned on getting another dog. Hadn't
No?
planned on. Nope. But he was just too cute. Way too cute for me to say no to.
Yeah. And you know what? There's something in names as well. So there's a vibration that is carried with a name. So if the name doesn't fit, then it's not the right name for them.
Yes. That I agree with. There was that famous case in Europe about a Black Panther that they had named Diablo. And he was just a sour, mean cat. Like they couldn't let him out in public. Okay. And all of a sudden he was like, or the psychic lady was like, we need to change his name. He hates his name.
Yeah.
And when they changed his name, all of a sudden he wasn't trying to attack all the people who were feeding him. He wasn't trying to attack the other cats. He calmed right down.
Wow.
And actually, like they were getting ready to ship him out because he was just such a violent animal. And the psychic lady showed that it was actually his name being named after the devil. He didn't like that.
No. So he was taking on the same vibration of his name.
Yeah. You can YouTube that story. I don't know the title of the name or anything, but if you put in Black Panther Diablo, change his name or something like that, you'll be able to find it. It is a beautiful story. How everything changed with that beautiful cat because he's gorgeous. He was just.
Oh, they are gorgeous, aren't they?
Right. Chatbot Marco, welcome to the show. And IOXOI or IXOXI, XOIOX, welcome. Who else has showed up here? Poncho Zorch. How you doing, man? Hi, John P. Adventures. Yeah. Good to see you. Who else is here? I think that's it. I think that's it so far. Yeah, that Diablo video is awesome though. You should, after the show, if you're still awake, look that up. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. We got about 1 more minute here.
Oh. I don't know. Am I live or not?
Oh yeah, you're still on YouTube. Okay. If you have to step away quickly, you can to fill your water.
No, that's fine. I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, at the next hour, I'll step away for a stretch.
Okay.
Yeah. We leave the audience here because they're grown. They can do it themselves. Thank you to W. Decker for our lone super chat tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support, W. Decker, as it's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis for all of you. And to all our new subscribers, hello, how are you? If you're following on Twitch or Facebook or Instagram or where else are we? X, make sure you hit subscribe, ring that bell, do that kind of stuff. I like that question. Gorgeous Kim Jellin. She has the perfect teeth. It's terrible. She's like flossing as she's listening. I could tell. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, or maybe you're new to the show and just want to hear some of our past stuff, you can go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Also, we are on every major podcast network for you to download as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got great stuff there. We do. It's called a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with psychic intuitive Allison Gray. What is it like being psychic? This is what Kim Jellin would like to know in our chat room, Allison.
Do you know what? It's actually quite cool, I think. I enjoy it. It's for me, it's really lovely to be able to connect with other people. It's very nice to be able to link into the spirit world and pass on those messages of love and reassurance and guidance to somebody that's perhaps struggling or needs that connection. If we've lost somebody, and our heart gets ripped out, doesn't it? And that grief takes over. So how beautiful is it to be able to come and see somebody, like a medium, and be able to be reassured that actually they're still around, they're still loving us, they're still guiding us, supporting us. And that they can see us and feel us and are with us all the time. And for me, that's what I love doing, being a psychic.
I can see where you love it. I can see your passion for this subject and what you do regarding it. I mean, when people are coming to you, what makes them come to you? What makes them reach out to Allison Gray and say, I need Allison's help?
I love that question because I think it's different for everybody. But the stories that I get was, I suddenly felt I needed to come and see you. I suddenly had that urge to reach out. And so I believe that it's the spirit world that are nudging them, are pushing them towards us. We want to communicate with you. Obviously, you're not picking that up with us yourself. Let's go to somebody else that's able to connect us. And it may be word of mouth. I work a lot with word of mouth. Suddenly people just find my name, or they'll have a conversation and my name will pop up. Or it's not just mine, it can be any mediums, any medium. And I just feel it's the spirit world are putting that in front of us, or putting that in front of those people and nudging them, giving that urge to come and see somebody so that they can connect and they can have a chat and talk.
So if I were to come to you as a client and I say, look, I've had some real issues here. I've lost some family and I'm really downtrodden. Take me through what you would go through.
So people come to me for different reasons as well. So sometimes it's sometimes they want a psychic. Sometimes they want somebody just to have a look a little bit further afield, further on in their life. Maybe they've got a situation going on with them. Maybe there's a change of job, or maybe there's a worry. Maybe there's an issue in their relationship, and they just want to know a little bit, have that little bit of guidance from, for me, somebody that they trust, i.e. a family member or somebody. But when people come to me, they don't often tell me. I don't like to be told what's going on. That's for me in the spirit world to bring to that person. Because if you come here and say, right, I've got this issue going on in my workplace, I find it very difficult to work within that vibration, because then my conscious mind will kick in and I'll want to support them in a way that I'd support a friend. Whereas if you come to me and sit in front of me, it's down for me to connect to the loved ones and then understand what's going on with them and pass on that information.
What is the information that you get? Like, what are the messages that spirit wants you to tell people? Do you just let it flow, or do you go for specifics?
Oh, I go for well, I do. My friends laugh at me because I do like to delve deep. No, for me, it's I listen to the spirit world. So when you come to me, I have tarot cards. I don't necessarily do spreads of tarot cards, but I love the images. I use a lot of symbolism in my reading. That's how the spirit world connect with me. So I'm a clairvoyant and I'm a clairsentient. So I feel things, I know things, and I see things in my mind's eye. And they'll put images, which I've learnt over the years how to interpret. So we'll all interpret things differently. And I have this kind of little dictionary, if you like, with the spirit world. So, if I see this image, that's what it means to me. And so what they'll do is they'll impress upon all of that onto my mind, onto my being, onto my feelings, using my clairs. And then I interpret that for the person that I'm working with. But mainly it's that reassurance and that guidance that actually, we appreciate this is what's going on. We can understand that this is upsetting. We can understand that, you're not very happy at the moment. However, these things are coming up for you, or these things are around you, or you need to be aware of this. And then they leave feeling energized. They leave feeling that actually somebody's got my back. And I think that's the beauty of a reading. So it's not scary. Having a read, a lot of people come and they're very, very nervous and they're not sure what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. I just sit and listen. It's for me, I tune in to what they have to say. And if it doesn't make sense, I delve deeper. And I'm like, so tell me, what else do they need to know? So I'm having a conversation with the spirit world and trying to converse with the person sitting opposite me as well at the same time. But I definitely leave it to the spirit world to communicate what that person needs to know, what that person needs to understand.
Is it usually spirit that draws the person to you, or does the person come to you looking for spirit?
I think both. I think both. And as I say, sometimes it's a psychic thing. So sometimes, it's an issue going on in their life. And some people don't like to have the spirit world come through, which I find very difficult, because the people come anyway, spirit come anyway. But no, I think, they come. I always encourage people to come with an open mind, because as I said before, I can't guarantee that person is going to be the right, that person. That person may not, for some reason, be ready to come through, particularly if they've just passed over, or it's going to be too upsetting, or that, because the spirit is new to the spirit world, they might bring through somebody else to guide them through. So you might get a grandfather if it was a dad, or a mother, or something like that. So I think both is the answer to your question. Sometimes they're searching for something, other times the spirit world will just come in and offer that love and support.
Who or why would spirit want to communicate with a loved one? What would be a story that you've had happen where a spirit came through and just kind of said, I've been waiting for you to try and communicate with me?
I think, they notice what's going on in our lives, and they want to help. They're used to helping us, so when the person's here on the earth plane, you would have gone to them and you would have spoken to them. That you would have asked their advice and they would have given that to them. It's no different from the spirit world. The only difference is that they are what I call like in a different zone, in a different room, and they're still wanting to reassure us that things are going to be okay. I have a lot of people that come and they're trapped in their grief because they're feeling that loss, they're feeling disconnected. So for me, a lot of the readings is about reconnecting and just reassuring them that the love is there, that the connection is there, that they're still wanting to guide us. There's so many readings. I have so the funny thing about readings is that once the person's gone, I forget. So when they come back and they tell me about things that I've said, I can't remember. Because for me it's like a download. I don't attach myself. I don't remember. It's not my information. I'm just a channel. But yeah, there's, for me, the readings are, I did one at the weekend actually, and I brought through a mum and a dad. And the lady was just feeling very lonely at that time. She had a lot going on with her family, and literally just listening to the fact that, I was bringing through her mum and her dad, she was like, that was so reassuring and comforting. So sometimes they just come for that comfort.
Comfort is something we all seek, and we all seek, whether you want to admit it or not, or people want to admit it or not, one thing that we seek is that validation that there is some sort of life after death, because death seems so lonely. It seems so scary. And yet it's something that each and every one of us are going to do, and even though we're open to these experiences, they just never seem to be comforting enough to say, all right, whatever happens, happens. Now, there's some people out there who can. There's some people out there who don't care. But for the majority of people, we want to know what else is out there.
Yeah. It's because, why are we down here? What is the whole purpose of being here if there isn't a bigger picture? And for me, it's about growing. We all come down. So, obviously I do a lot of work with past life regression as well, and learning the lessons and growing spiritually so that we are all kind of moving forward towards the light. And I think, we're all on different journeys and we've all got different paths, but we learn from each other, and we learn how to grow, how to develop, how to understand, how to connect, how to love. And this is why we have our ups and downs in our life, and just having the spirit world there to say to us, you're doing really well, keep going, things are changing, or this is going to come up for you, or just remember that you're not alone and we are with you and we're walking beside you. So there's that beautiful, and I can't remember who wrote it, there's that beautiful poem of footsteps in the sand, and I often refer to that because even though we can't see them, those footsteps, we're being carried. And I love that idea of the spirit world carrying us still.
Is it comforting?
For me it is. And I hope that when people come from my readings that they leave feeling happier. And for me, readings are healing. It's not about what do I know and how can I prove it. It's about coming in, sitting down, and for that hour that I work with somebody, they are having that communication, they're having that conversation with a loved one in the spirit world. And I think that is healing, and I think it's comforting.
What do you get out of it?
Helping others, I think. I've always been an empath. Ever since I was a child, I can pick up on people's energies. And, even my grandfather, the one I was talking about earlier, I used to love sitting on his lap because, my grandmother passed when I was 11 months old. He spent a long time without his wife. And I always picked up that fact that he was perhaps lonely. I don't know whether he was, but as a child, I realized that. So I always used to go up there and sit on his lap and give him a cuddle. And I've done that with a lot of people. And I think that's why I went into teaching, and then I went into special needs teaching. So everything that I do is about helping other people, not just to kind of give them my energy, but to also connect them with themselves so that they can understand and they can have a better understanding of who they are, what they are, so that they're feeling more grounded and secure. And I just think, you know, working with the spirit world helps that as well. So it brings healing, it brings understanding, it brings connected, and the whole, you know, the whole word of love for me is what it's all about. And I love the fact that even though I have people that come in and they're very upset, and I've always got my box of tissues, and they cry and they say, but you know, I'm okay because this is what I've been wanting. It's like cathartic. The tears are cathartic, you know, and they leave feeling a little bit brighter, a little bit happier. And that's what I like. You know, I want people to be feeling like that. I don't like people to be upset and miserable and sad. So if I can help in any way, then that's the intention I put out to the spirit world. You know, you say about why are people drawn to me, and I just put out to the spirit world, bring me the people that, you know, we can help. And that's as simple as that. That's what I want to do.
Do you feel that there is, or let me rephrase it, do you feel that this is your calling? This is what you're meant to do, is to help guide people through those tougher times?
Yes, definitely.
And
Definitely.
and with that though, and I apologize for cutting you off there, but with that though, is it just about connecting with spirit? Is it about advising them or helping them understand what the future holds as well?
I think we all need that guidance, don't we? I mean, I always say to everybody, we have free will. Free will has a big place in all these readings. So, you know, I always say I can offer what's coming up. So this is what's going on around you. This is a potential what will come up because we have free will, and it's up to everybody to leave my readings and say, actually, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it my way. Now, whether they eventually come round to that thinking is a different matter, but we all have free will. And I think we do like to have that guide. We like to have those stepping stones. We know that if we can get there, then the journey will be all right, as long as something else is out there. So I always feel that readings should be positive. I don't buy into regions of fear, you know. It always has to be from the place of love, I think.
I think so too, but how do people react though? Because there's a lot of people out there who are not, used to this type of message from people.
In what way? Sorry.
How do people react to when you give them a reading?
I think a lot of people that come for a reading are open to it. I have had readings where people have said, "Oh, I've been told to come to you," and that's really hard because, you know, I'm not here to prove that. I'm not here to change anybody's mind. Put it that way. I'm not here to say, you know, you have to believe me. I work very much like this is what I do. This is my understanding, and I do a lot of spiritual teaching as well. And again, you know, I don't say this is everything that you have to know or understand. This is my experience. I've done thousands of readings, and I sit with my spirit guides, and I get that communication, that understanding. And I've had spiritual teachers myself. Um, this is where I am with it all. This is what I've seen. This is what they have shown me. But actually, you have your own free will. You have your own ideas, your own thoughts, your own opinions, and everybody comes from a different direction. It could be they've come from different religions or different backgrounds or have different core beliefs. So I don't always feel that I'm here to change somebody who perhaps doesn't believe into a believer. I don't believe that's my job.
Wow. I mean, why? What is your job then? What do you think it's all about?
For me, it's about the healing. It's about the healing, and I keep saying the word connection, but for me, it's about the love and the connection, and proving to people through the reading that actually our lives continue, that the bonds of love are eternal, and that there is something out there after we have passed over. Whether you want to call it heaven, whatever you want to call it, um, there is something else out there, and that we don't need to be afraid of it. We don't need to be scared.
Oh man. I mean, the idea though that, like, I'll be honest with you, I have a complete fear of death.
Okay.
Complete fear, to the point where I actually will have panic attacks about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So in about 2, 3 days, this show is actually going to hit me, And after I end the show, whatever show it is that night, I'll crawl into bed that night, and I'll be just about to close my eyes and settle down, and all of a sudden I'll start thinking about death. And it'll panic me. Absolute panic me. But I know, due to my faith and due to what I've experienced, I know there's something more out there. But there's always that little creepy what if? What if all of that is just a facade and it's just imagination?
But that's where faith comes in. That is where faith and where trust comes in. And I think we're all scared. I don't know, for me, it's more about being scared of how it's going to happen. Am I going to be in pain? What does it feel like to take the last breath? I feel like it's a transition. For me, I feel like the body transitions, particularly if you've got an illness. There's an illness there. I think your body prepares you for it. I think it's very different when your life is taken short or unexpected, and then it's just very, very quick. But I believe, from my understanding, is that our soul is transitioning out of our body anyway, and it's actually just the body that goes through the motions rather than the soul. The soul is eternal. You can't get rid of that soul. Our soul is here, and it's going to continue. So I think that we worry about, will it hurt? What will it look like? And what's going to happen with everybody that I'm leaving behind? Will I be able to come back and see them? So I think a lot of the fear in death and passing is to do with our human brain rather than actually what happens. And I believe that people are here. I always feel that, I get told in readings that, I was with you before you passed. I was there. I was holding your hand. We're met from somebody from the spirit world. We're not alone.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because when I lost my mom last year, I was pretty distraught. I live 4.5, 5 hours away. And when I got the phone call that it was time to come down, it was very, very interesting, because the day before she passed, it was her, my two sisters who are older than me, and myself. And my oldest sister lost her son in 2018 to a fentanyl overdose. And that was her only child. And so on my drive down, my nephew has communicated with me. And I'm like, dude, you got to help me out here. I was kind of emotional on the drive, and like, you got to help grandma. You got to be there. And he gave me this cocky, confident attitude that he always had. He was like, I've already got this, uncle. Don't worry about it. I've already got this. So the day before my mom died, my sisters and I are sitting in her hospice room, and my mom is sitting in her wheelchair and, very lethargic, and she's talking to someone. My second oldest sister says, Mom, who are you talking to? And she goes, I'm talking to Bryce.
Yeah.
And my eldest sister is like, what? Where is he? Is he here? And my mom points right in front of him, or right in front of her, pardon me. And my sister never got to say goodbye to her son. And the next day, knowing that my nephew was in there to help grandma transition, my eldest sister got to be the one to hold my mom's hand as she crossed over. So I think there was a healing there, that happened. Something miraculous happened there. At least
Definitely.
I call it a miracle, because that wasn't supposed to be that way. My dad was supposed to be in there. I was literally in the parking lot about to walk in when I got the call that mom was gone. Okay, I just pulled into the parking lot. My father went to run errands for my grandmother. So it was just my sister, my mom, and my deceased nephew.
Yeah.
That was
And
all.
and it's beautiful, and I believe that that's how they orchestrate it. So you hear this, and I've had it for when my father passed away. He passed away in the car. He had a heart attack. He wasn't expected,
Oh my.
And
Hold
that
that
was
thought.
really,
Let's talk about this. Sorry, we're right at the edge of the break here. Allison Gray, we're going to continue the story of the other side when we return on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Okay, we gotta finish with that story because that story sounds amazing.
yeah, okay.
Really
You
so
have to remind
when we
me.
come back from the break, we got about 5.5 minutes. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm going to step away for a couple minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, brilliant.
All right. Be right back. This is a good show, everybody. Great show. I'm having fun tonight. Hope you are too. We'll be right back. All right, people. I am back. Bobbert, how are you tonight? Yes. Little El Guapo. Lunar Tina, nice to see you again. And who else is joining us here? Eva, nice to see you. Marty Burback, thanks for coming on in. Yes, please place all your questions in capital letters. Debbie Nickerson, nice to have you back. Hi, Sasquatch guy. If you were French, you'd be Guy le Sasquatch. There we go. All right, we got about 30 seconds. Big thank you to Puck Elf, Aloha Dave, Gailey, and W. Decker for the super chat. Very much appreciate the love and support. El Guapo will be 4 years old on the 30th of this month. Yes. And he's already sleeping on my bed. That's how we roll around here. All right, we got about 8 seconds. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My psychic ability sensed that you were listening. I want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. You could join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us tonight, Clam? Yodization. Yodization is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Allison Gray. What's it like to be psychic? And right before the break, Allison was telling us a story about someone close and deceased and how they came back. Allison, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks. Yes, so I was telling you, I've actually got a few stories to tell you. One of them was with my father, and he had a heart attack in the car. It was completely unexpected, and I got a phone call from my mum just to say literally that my dad had been in an accident and that he'd gone to hospital, and we needed to go and see him. I didn't know any more detail than that. And I had I've got 4 children, so it's my little one. Put him in the car seat, and I drove over to the hospital, and I got to a place called Barnet. So I got to sort of about 5 minutes away from where the hospital was, and I could feel my dad sitting in the car next to me, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, Dad, I'm coming here to see you. You can't be here. You need to go back there. And that was, for me, that was like really scary, because I wasn't expecting it. It was completely, my dad wasn't ill. It was just out of the blue. And I believe that he came there in the car to reassure me, to say, that I'm okay. So yes, I know that I've passed over, but I'm actually here. And I noticed that on the radio, on the time, it had 444. And at that time, I didn't really understand what that meant. And I Googled spiritual numbers, and 444 means that there's a whole army of angels surrounding us. And so I knew at that point that my dad had passed over. But we were talking about, being scared and passing over. And for me, my dad wouldn't have wanted me, my mum and my sister to have seen him. So I believe that people go in a way that they want, that is right for them. So, you know, when we have those stories that I didn't make it in time, you're not meant to. You're not meant to. So for me, that is understanding that, you know, don't hold that as a regret, or don't hold that as something that's going to hold you back in your grief, because actually I believe that we choose when to go and the right time to go, and it's always the right time to go, whether we feel like that here on the earth plane or not. I do believe that when we're born and when we pass, there is that timing. And sometimes they want only one person around. You often hear that, you know, we were there all night and I literally got up and walked out the door to get a drink and they passed over. It's kind of like they've waited for that. And it's quite a hard thing to say, I think, or a hard thing to hear, but I really do believe that. My nan, the other story I was going to tell you is that we were talking about, before the break, we were talking about transitioning, and my nan was also in a hospice, and we knew that she, you know, she didn't have long, but we didn't know, you know, you never know the point of when they're going to pass. And again, it was nighttime, and we were all sleeping. I had a little baby, my first baby, and I had this massive, great big bang. And the first thing you think of is somebody's coming to the house. We've got a burglar. We went downstairs, and I had a bookcase or a shelf with all my cookery books, and there was a clock on there that was made of like plywood, but it was a clock that's been passed down to me from the family. So really, really, really thin wood. All my books were over the floor, and this clock was placed on top. It hadn't smashed, it hadn't got anything. And I just took note of the time and realized what the time was. And I thought in my head, my nan's gone. My nan's gone. She's passed away. They're coming to tell me that she's passed away. Went back to bed. Spoke to my mum in the morning, and she said, no, Nan's still here. And I thought, well, that's really weird, because I could have sworn that that was the message that I got. That night, the same time, she actually passed away. So they told me and warned me about 24 hours beforehand that they were going to be taking my nan. So for me, I do believe that when we pass, other people are here. You know, I knew my granddad had come to get my nan. So
that's beautiful. And that's exactly, you know, funny that you mentioned how there's always others on the other side. You know, like my mom, when she passed, she would not go in front of my son. I have a 10-year-old son, and in October of 2022, we got the original call that it was time to go say goodbye to mom. And so we didn't really tell my boy what was going on. We just said we're going to go visit grandma in the hospital. And when we were there, you know, he ran down the hall, turns into my mom's room, and my mom's just laying there like a zombie. And all of a sudden he was like, hi, grandma, I'm here. I love you. And he crawled right up on her bed and cuddled up to her. And my mom just went boom, like wide awake again. Like all of a sudden, like, I can't do this in front of him, you know?
Yeah.
But we got another 8 months out of her, 8, 9 months out of her. And then that day when we had just pulled into the parking lot, that's when the phone call rang, because she knew she wouldn't pass in front of him. Like she was just like, I will not do this to my grandson. And
Absolutely.
I knew that,
Yeah.
you know, she didn't want to terrify him, you know, or whatever, you know, and so there is almost like a beautiful part of humanity when those situations happen as one transitions over to the other side.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. And that has been my experience, also with my husband, actually. He passed last year, and he would have known that I needed somebody with me. And so I had my sister with me, and we had spent a few days in the hospice with him, because I knew it was coming, so I didn't want to leave. And my sister joined me, and his sister came as well. But he wasn't as close to his sister as he was obviously to my sister. And she spent, I think, 2 nights. And by the third night, she said, I'm so tired, I'm going to go home and I'm going to sleep in my own bed. And when she went home and slept in her own bed, that's when he passed over. And I was like, you've been waiting for your sister to go, so that it was just me and my sister with you as you were passing. So I definitely believe that they choose the right time.
Right. What about those who didn't get a choice? Like you mentioned your father with a heart attack in the car, or there's other people who are, let's say, murdered, or just they're walking down a sidewalk and something falls from a skyscraper right on top of them. It happens. There's some weird ways people die. I mean, but what if you are not in control of that situation and you don't have that chance?
We don't always have the chance to say goodbye, no, which again leads me to the topic of, we must always say how we feel. We must always be open, so that, if we're arguing, you don't want to pass within an argument, do you? So, my nan always used to say, never go to bed on an argument. That was kind of like drilled into me from a young age. But I think, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there is an accident. I do believe that when our time is right, our time is right. And I think we have that passing that we were meant to have, whether that is sudden or horrific for whatever reason. And I don't always understand the reason, but I do believe that we're supposed to go in a certain way. That's my understanding. So yes, even though it was a shock for us, and maybe a shock to the person, I definitely still think it's divine timing.
Do you believe we all have a time limit? Do you believe that, it's set in stone from the time we were born until the time we die? And granted, we may not know how we're going to pass, but that's the time. Like, do you believe there is no accidents or situations?
Yes, I do, actually. I believe that things are all orchestrated, things are all planned for us. So before we come down, we know what we're going to be going through. We've already weaved that life, if you like, in the planning before we've come down. But we go through like a veil of amnesia. So we don't really understand when we're down here what our path is and what our missions are or what we're supposed to be doing. But I do believe that we plan our lives when we come down here. And I believe that we're born on the right day, on the certain time, with the right star sign. We're born in the right country, into the right soul family. So I think that there's a lot that goes on and is orchestrated before we actually come down. So yes, I understand that we come in at a certain time and we leave at a certain time. That's
Even
how
if
I
it
feel.
is, even if it is, say, a violent, uncontrollable situation?
It's a really hard one to justify that, because why do we why is there all this meanness in the world? Why is there all this horrendous wars and fightings and really like evil people, if you like, and I don't know why we choose that I can't answer, but I do believe that we come down here with a plan, and I do believe that there's an entry and an exit time. I don't have all the answers, unfortunately, but and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I do feel that things are planned for us,
What do your
for our
guides say
spiritual
about that?
growth.
What do your guides say about that situation? Because, like, I can understand if, say, let's use an example, someone goes to war, okay,
Mm,
and the world is a difficult place, and they are out there fighting for whatever the cause is, and you know what? They take a grenade or a bullet, and that's it. They're done. I can understand that because when you sign up for the project or sign up for the job, that's the risk that you're going to take. But
mm.
in a situation where, say, someone, let's take a morbid situation here. A child is kidnapped. and the person who does the kidnapping does horrendous things to that child. I can't see that child, at least for me, and maybe it's a human answer. I can't see that child saying, this is the way I want to check out, by being kidnapped from my parents and, have some horrible stranger do horrendous things to me before, chopping me up and leaving me in a goat field or something like that.
I'm completely with you. I don't understand it either, and I can't understand why we would choose a passing like that. But what I do have been told by my guides, and from my understanding, is that actually sometimes our passing isn't just about us; it's about the family as well. Because I mentioned about soul connections, and we coming down with soul families. So sometimes it's a learning and an understanding that the people that we've left behind have to go through in order to grow for whatever reason. Now, when we're talking about the soul and the growth and how we evolve spiritually, there's always going to be nice things and there's always going to be, things that we are uncomfortable for us or that we don't like. And I would put it the only way I can explain it, and I'm not going to be able to do this justice because it's a topic that is like really hard to explain. But for me, it's like, we grow more, or we get the strength more when we're going through a difficult time. If everything is love and light, we're not growing in the same way. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one because the stories are so horrific, aren't they? And why would we do that? Why would spirit make us do that? I can't really do that justice, but that's my understanding from what I've received from my guides.
And I can understand why that would be such a confusing answer. I really
Mm.
do understand why it would be something, because I do believe that there are a number of mysteries that we are not supposed to know the answer to. Even though
Mm.
we're still, human curiosity is still trying to push us to those directions. But it does make sense what you're saying. I'm going to get some audience questions here as we kind of mix it up a little bit. Let's go to Spirit Fox. Allison, do you receive past life information or Akashic downloads during a reading?
Sometimes. I do past life regression separately from my readings. So sometimes when I'm doing a reading, I will have people's loved ones, or generally have people's loved ones. Sometimes, however, they will come in and I'll get guides, or I'll get guardian angels or angels with them. So sometimes I get different kind of information. Now, as a rule of thumb, and this is me, and I know that there's lots of different people out there, different mediums and psychics out there. For me, past life regression is something that I want to get somebody else to experience, because I can sit here in a reading and say, oh, you've had a life as an Egyptian, or you're Cleopatra, or what have you. They won't understand that they will just have to trust that I'm telling them the truth. And so my understanding is that if I guide you through a past life regression, you feel it, because all of those memories are in your aura, in the cells of your body. You tap into that, into your higher self. You tap into that, and as you're going through those past life regressions, you are feeling it, experiencing it. You're seeing it like a movie in your own mind, and that's your evidence. If I was to sit here and say you've had various lives in XYZ, how can I prove that? How can I give that evidence? If I'm talking to your loved ones, I can give you validation, but I can't validate that. They just have to trust me. So for me, yes, it can happen, but I would rather take you down into a past life regression so that you can get that personally.
I love that idea. I think that is great. All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's go to Cosmic Joe. I'm an immortalist and don't fear death. Would you use stem cells to prolong your life?
Love that question. Do you know what? No, I don't think I would. Because I feel like when my time is here, I've done my job. I've learnt my lessons. I've learnt what I've needed to learn down here. I've given what I've needed to give down here, and I just think, you know, when my time is up, my time is up, and I'm going to go back there, and I'm going to be somebody else's spirit guide instead. I don't know whether I'll come back down again. I think I'll just be a guide.
Well, that would be interesting. I want to ask you, in everything that you go to, because we got about 4 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Allison Gray is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What about reincarnation? How do previous lives affect what we are doing today?
I love that question also, because we are who we are. Our soul has evolved over many, many, many lifetimes. It's, you know, we do get new souls out here. You know, we are coming down with new souls, but generally speaking, we've had many past lives. And what happens is that we take on those learnings. We've taken on that growth. So if you consider your aura, you have all your information. So when somebody's reading you, you're reading not just your life now, but all your lives, all your past lives, and it builds up. So for me, when I'm taking somebody through a past life regression, sometimes we get those repeated patterns. Sometimes it's like, you know, you constantly go through the same cycles until we've learnt what it is that we're supposed to learn from it. And sometimes it's just about forgiveness and letting it go. So the past life regression will help us to realize that actually we don't need to be stuck in that pattern anymore. We get the light from it, and then we can move on. So I think that past life regression is definitely something that I think everybody should do, really. I mean, even if you're just curious, but to understand where you've come from in order to help you to gain those lessons and those learnings and that wisdom in order to move forward in your life.
Let's move on to Kim here. So we got about 2.5 minutes. How is what you're seeing different from imagination?
Again, that's the hardest thing to do as a medium. When I first opened up, when I first started in my circle, and I stood up and I was getting these images, the first thing I was like, I'm making this up. I'm definitely making this up. How do I know that this is real? You know, as you continue, you believe and you take that faith. And if I'm explaining something to you and you are understanding it and you are taking it and you can resonate with that, then for me, that is the proof that I'm not making it up. It's not just in my imagination. But that is the trust that you go through of, you know, of time after time after time, and having your guides there, having your loved ones there, and just trusting and believing. So it is a leap of faith, and it feels like it's your imagination. Is that from past life regression as well, do you think? Do you think that's what she means as well? Because for me, if it's in a past life regression situation, as I'm guiding them through, I can tell in their body language, I can tell in how they're being emotional, whether something is being made up in their imagination or whether they are feeling it. You get the emotion in past life regression.
With that emotion that goes on, do you carry some of the drama over, as we got about 1 minute to go?
Yeah, that's right. And so I often ask them to release that. We go through a process where we step aside, and if it becomes too much, I can raise them out of it so that they are viewing it from a different point, so that then if the emotion's too, but particularly if it's traumatic, you know, we don't want to necessarily reopen that up again, but they can view it from a higher perspective, if you like.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we only have Allison Gray for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio as we continue to learn what it's like to be a psychic intuitive. We'll get into some healing and your questions next on Spaced Out Radio. If you're in our YouTube chat room and you want to participate, just put your questions in capital letters. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio. The second half of the show is coming up next. So stay tuned, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave
Scott. There we go. We are clear. All right. See, we're almost done. Told you this would fly by.
It has. It's been amazing. It's been brilliant. Thank you. Lots of brilliant questions. Lovely.
Yes.
I love it.
We have a pretty smart audience.
Yes. And I think they're important questions to ask as well, aren't they? You know, we shouldn't just accept. I've asked so many questions along my route. I'm not the one just to sit back to just say, oh, okay, that's it. I'll believe in that. I'm like, why? Why? Tell me. How does it work? I've asked all the questions too.
1 second here. Yeah, we try and get as much information jammed in as quickly and as much as possible. I mean, that's the fun of it all.
Yes.
Just making sure I haven't missed any questions here. Hello, Heather McIntyre. How are you? Nice to see you. Who else am I missing here? Oh, I like that question, Vanessa. All right, we're caught up. There we go. There we go. Me, Woiken, if you live in my basement, can you clean up my son's hockey area? He's got his gear spread all over the place. This is so much fun. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, no, it's brilliant. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's great fun.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, we'll continue with some audience questions when we return.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 6:31 in the morning for you.
It is, yes. In fact, I might even open my blinds.
Oh,
I can see daylight.
Open them up.
There we go. Yeah.
People, there is actually sunshine in the United Kingdom.
It's
Not
lovely.
What's the temperature there?
Oh, that I'm not sure. It is. I don't know.
I'm going to say it's about 6 degrees.
Yeah, probably. I'd have to check on my phone. I don't know. It's not telling me.
Here, I'll look it up.
Six or 7. Yeah. I'm Oxfordshire. Oxfordshire.
Sure, in Oxfordshire.
The Cotswolds.
It's 2 degrees Celsius right now.
Cold. Yes. It looks much warmer outside than it is then.
Yeah. And you got a high of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 12 degrees. Oh, that's a nice spring day. That's a nice spring day.
Good. That's nice.
Yeah. That's about
need to cut the grass today. Need it to be dry.
It's 5 degrees Celsius here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, there's not a cloud in the sky. Tonight's a good UFO night.
Oh, lovely.
Very good UFO night.
Brilliant.
Yes. So as soon as the show is over, I'm going to be like outside looking for aliens.
Why not?
I put it out there each and every night. I give them like 10, 15 minutes. I know that's not enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I give them like 10, 15 minutes. Say, okay, come on, guys. Got to show me. They've been very silent.
I had an orb that came to me once with and it shocked me because normally for me they're angelic or spiritual, and it had like these different eyes just staring at me, and I was like, whoa. That was weird.
That is awesome.
I
love it. I had a good UFO sighting about 3 weeks ago. I don't know what the hell it was. It was like, Cassiopeia, the sideways W in the sky. It was just beyond the middle star. And all of a sudden this bright orb lit up, and then it kind of did like a smiley face and then disappeared. And literally like 2 seconds later, right underneath that one, the second one pops up and does the smiley face again and disappears like it's following his buddy.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Hi, Stu Effin Gerson. How you doing? Good to see you. All right, we got 30 seconds left. Thank you to Puck Elf, Aloha Dave, Gailey, and W. Decker for the great super chats. Hi, Blue Cruise. Hi, Yo-Yo or Jojo. All depends if you like a silent J or not. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly there. So go shopping today. You could do that. And here we go in about 5 seconds. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in and wearing your tinfoil tight. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free. We're on every major podcast network and on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Allison Gray, psychic medium out of beautiful United Kingdom, Oxfordshire, just to put it on out there, where it's currently 2 degrees Celsius and warming up. Appreciate you getting up early for this, Allison.
It's been great fun. Thank you.
Yes. All right. And we're going to get right to some audience questions here. Let's go to Debbie. Have you heard or asked if you want to stay or go? I've been told this.
No, I haven't. I have a feeling, however, that I've got a lot to do. I've got a feeling that there's more for me to achieve. And I have a feeling that I'm not going to get too old. I don't think I'm going to pass young, but I don't think I'm going to be old bones. And it's a feeling that I have rather than being told I will or I won't. So, yeah.
Why do you feel that?
It's just something inside me. It just feels that now I've got more work for spirit that needs to be done. But I have this feeling that I'm not going to, I feel I'm going to pass actually in the same way that my dad did. I think I'm going to just leave this world. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. That's how I feel. But I don't think, I mean, I don't mean to antagonize that lady, but I feel that we're not necessarily meant to know when we go. I feel that if we knew and had that date, it would create fear as well of passing. So I don't know whether it's the right thing to do to know when to go or not. I think when our time is up, then that's when we start to that transition. I think it's very different if you've had an out-of-body experience, or if you've had an accident and then you get that choice of whether you can come back and continue your journey or whether you stop. I think that's a time where you have a choice. But I think when we're down here, we don't really know when our date is going to be. And I think that's also done on purpose.
Let's go to Sasquatch Guy. What's your view on reincarnation again?
So I believe that we've all had lots of lives, and each life shapes us. So if we consider that we come from one, source, I feel that we have lots of sparks that come off that, and we come down as souls and we have different experiences, and all of that is just for us to open up and to grow so that we can go back to being, in the light with all that wisdom, all that understanding. And so we have to go through different lifetimes, different periods, different genders, different countries, all of that shapes who we are as a soul.
All right, let's move on to another audience question here. This one coming from Spirit Fox. Have you witnessed people recall off-planet, non-earthly lifetimes?
I haven't in my own past. I haven't when I've guided somebody in past lives. The weirdest one that I had was a lady who came back as a swan, and I think I write about it in my book. And I asked my guides afterwards, why was it a swan? Why did I, do we not come back as people? Yeah, and they were like, "But every life is important. So that swan was still getting the emotions. The story was that this swan was being hit by stones and it was struggling to protect the family. And so what happens is when I do past life regressions, I take them through about 3 different lives, and there was a thread about protection, looking after the family, and how that also resonates in her life. So it didn't matter that it was a swan. A life is a life. It's still an experience. We're still part of the soul group. And actually, when you go into the Hindu religion, that's what they believe anyway. They believe that, we can reincarnate into animals and also humans. So that was a very, very interesting one. But I have had my own experience when I've been in meditation, and there's different solar systems out there, and I feel like I've stepped through Sirius and the Pleiades and Lyra. So I feel that there are connections out there. We haven't just had earthly experiences. We've been in different places.
Vanessa would like to know, how much does depression and anxiety present in psychic mediums?
How much does depression? I don't understand. What do you know what she means by
Well,
that?
how does it affect it? How does it affect it?
Okay, so I feel that when you have a reading, as I said, a lot of it can be healing. It's about understanding. So actually, it can be really helpful for people that are anxious or depressed. But you have to be careful. We have a responsibility as mediums, as psychics, with the people that we are reading for. So I always say that, if when I'm teaching, if we are connecting to the spirit world, we still need to be psychic. We still need to be tapping into the person, our recipient who we are reading. Because actually, if I'm just going off and channeling and bringing, I have my duty, my responsibility is the person sitting in front of me. And if they're not in the right space, if they're not feeling secure enough, then the reading can't go on, because you don't want to do more damage. You don't want to hurt them even more. Does that make sense? So, my responsibility is, yes, let's see if we can help and bring guidance and healing. But actually, if you're not in the right time or it's not the right space for you, then for me, come back another time, and then, I can help you. And also, if they're I wouldn't read for anybody if they were under the influence of alcohol or drugs or anything like that, because again, I have a duty and I have to look out for them. They're in my care while I'm giving that reading.
All right, let's move on to Dave here, who is asking, can psychics turn it off if it scares them?
Yes. Yes, I always say have a little word. So I've got obviously children, and they will have these dreams, or I've had people that have said, my child is getting scared at night, and they keep getting this person come in and they keep visiting, and it's really distressing them. And I would say, make sure that I always do that grounding, always do that white light, but I would also have a word with my spirit guides, and I would say, this is upsetting me, this is scaring me, please don't. So when I said to you at the beginning about the story when I was younger and I felt that dark presence in my room, which I realize now is my spirit guide, I was like, whatever you do not show yourself to me. I was under that. I didn't want to see, I could feel them, but I didn't want to see anything. So I believe that if you put that intention out, the spirit world aren't here to scare us. They're excited. They can see that you have got those abilities. They can see that you have got that connection with them, and they're excited and they want to make contact. But actually, if we're not ready and if it scares us, then we have to just say to them, can you tone it down a little bit, or come in the day, don't come at night time.
Right. All right, let's go to Kim here. How can we get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you. So I've got a website, AllisonGrayMedium.com. I've also got Facebook, with Spiritual Insights, and Instagram, which is Allison Gray Medium.
All
So
right.
all the information's on those. Yeah.
From London, Techno Shaman, first time in our chat room. Thank you for coming on in. Says, are you a psychic medium, a trance medium, or a physical medium? Many thanks in advance.
Ah, lovely. Another London person. Yes, thank you. I'm a psychic medium. So I started off honing and tuning into my psychic ability, which actually became very handy when I was younger. And I used to do radio shows, when you used to do like TV shows, and I used to always get the answers right. I didn't know the answers. I just tuned in, I realized. So it can come in quite handy. So I started off with that, and then I learned how to control the images and how to connect into the mediumship. I have looked at trance. To be fair, I'm not necessarily, I call it blending. So I will blend with the spirit world. I will allow the spirit world to get as close as they can, but I always want to have that control, if you like. So I'm not the type of medium that will pop off somewhere and let somebody completely take over my body. So I blend strongly, but I'm not a trance medium. The only time that comes into play is when I'm healing, and I allow my guides to come in when I'm healing. So I perhaps do a little bit of trance healing than anything. And physical mediumship is great fun. I love physical mediumship. I love table tipping and things like that, and moving objects. That's great fun. But I would say I was a psychic medium mostly.
Let's go to Debbie. When you are leaving, are you asked, do you want to stay or go? Are you given that option? Or we asked that. I apologize.
We had
We
that,
asked that already. I'm going to expand on this though, because I actually have a friend who was asked if he'd like to stay or go.
Is that when he was ill? Was that an out of body experience?
On this plane, he had a brain aneurysm, and he was pretty much in a coma for 3.5 weeks. And during that 3.5 weeks, he actually remembers going through his judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very emotional story about him. And he was just turning back to religion, and after it was devil versus the Jesus, almost like lawyer versus lawyer. And at the end, God asked him whether or not he gave him a choice. You could stay or leave, and he chose to come back because his son was just 2 years old at the time, and he wanted to come back and be a good father for him.
Absolutely, that love has pulled him back. Yes. No, I do feel that when you're in that situation, I do believe that you are asked whether you want to stay or go, particularly if it is before the time that perhaps you are ready to go. Does that make sense? So if you have something like a trauma or an accident, or you're in a coma, I do believe that there is that choice. But I feel that when we're here on earth, we don't necessarily, I wouldn't talk to my guide and he says, should we go tomorrow? It wouldn't be anything like that. But I think if you are in a situation where you're poorly and you have gone through the light, I think yes.
Bub and the Starseeds, love the name, by the way. How would someone develop healing abilities?
I think there are people here that with general healing abilities anyway, and you will know those people, and you can possibly won't be one of those people because you are empathetic and that you have those abilities. A lot of healers love being outside. They care for the environment. They love children. They love animals. They care about people. Those are our natural healers. So I can, I'm a Reiki master. I can attune anybody to the Reiki symbols and the energy, but actually I wouldn't attune anybody that I didn't feel had that natural healing ability. So I think you're born with a healing ability.
Clifton says, my father recently passed away. How can I know that he's okay?
Talk to him. Talk to him. Ask him to show you a sign. Signs are everywhere. You can set up a sign or you can ask them to show you something. So sometimes we get pennies, we get feathers, we see robins, or you can come up with your own communication. You can say, come and stand around me. Can I feel you? Sometimes we get tingles or whooshes of energy that goes around us. Say to them, can you move something? Can you show me a symbol of a rainbow? Talk to him, because he will be desperate to try and make that contact. So if we learn that they can communicate with songs on the radio, lots of different things, there will be ways that he can communicate. So just talk to him.
Yeah, and look for the signs as well.
That's really important. Yeah.
I never believed in the sign of, a lot of people will say they get dimes.
Yeah. Oh yes, pennies for us, dimes for you. Yes, of course.
And I'll tell you, I'm somebody, if you knew me well, you'd know that one of my pet peeves, and I got plenty of them, is pocket change. Cannot stand the feeling of pocket change in my pockets. Never carry change, anything. If I have change, I throw it in my car or whatever it may be. And a couple of years ago, I started finding dimes in my pockets. Like I would literally have empty pockets. And the next thing you know, I reach into my pocket and there's dimes there. And probably the best gift that I've got from the other side was from my nephew who passed. And it was around his birthday a couple of years ago. And I looked down and I said, geez, buddy, you haven't been around to say hello lately. And my sister had said that every time she thinks about him, she sees or she finds a feather.
Mhm.
And so I'm walking to my vehicle from my front door. I walk down my stairs on my path to my driveway. And in my area, we don't have a lot of white birds. We have a lot of crows. We have a lot of ravens. There's robins and chickadees and all sorts of stuff, but not a lot of white birds or birds with white feathers.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, at the end of the path, on the final brick before I go to my vehicle, there is a white feather sitting there. And my sister when she would say, when he's around, he leaves me white feathers.
Yeah.
I still have that.
Yeah, definitely. And they're so easy, our brain is so complicated that we will often, not take these signs. Oh, it's because a bird, a cat has caught a bird or something like that. And they're giving us so many signs. I had a reading once with a lady and I said, what is it with the feathers? She said, well, what do you mean? I said, he keeps sending you feathers, but you're not seeing the feathers. She said, do you know what? The other day I went in the garden and the whole lawn was covered in feathers. I just thought a cat had caught a pigeon. It's like, no, he's sending them to you. So yes, definitely believe in that. Look out for the signs. The
All
more,
right,
more you do, the more they'll send you. That's why.
Oh, very true. Very, very true. Will over on Facebook is asking, were you born with your ability or did it suddenly just come to you?
So I think we're all born with the ability. And I think it just depends whether we open up to it or whether we shut it down. And I think some people will shut it down because they're scared of it. I think people are born for purpose and reason. And so I feel that if you're meant to step into it, then it will find you at some point in your life. It might be earlier on, or it might be a little bit later on when you've had a lot of your earth experience. But I think definitely, we are born with it, but it is something that we can fine tune. It's a little bit like going to the gym, we work at it and we strengthen it.
Let's continue on. Let's go to Woo Poo here. Can a powerful enough human psychic manipulate an alien's mind?
Oh, I don't know is the answer to that one. All I know is that I was telling us in the break about this orb that came to me. And I didn't really understand it at the time. And then a few years back, and twice I've had this, where I've had what I can only describe as an alien coming in, and they said to me that I found you. And I don't know, what do you mean? What have I done? I had no idea. But I was a little bit put off with that. And so I just literally pulled in my guides, pulled in the angels, pulled in the white light, and I thought, I'm not going there, and protected myself. So if that's the question, I would say yes, perhaps, because I think I blocked it.
All right. I want to ask you about, and we're done with audience questions for tonight. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
those who participated. We got 4 minutes to go. Let's talk about healing. How do you heal someone? How do you protect yourself while you're doing that? How do you take that pain, that energy, or that mind numbingness away?
So within the healing, so how do I protect? So I always put the protection around myself. So I always believe that as a healer, we are channels, just like the mediumship. We are channels. So I call upon the healing energy. So I call upon my healing guides. I call upon the healing angels. And I ask them to work through me. If I'm working with Reiki, which is a life force energy, I will use the symbols to help me connect. So I'm a channel, and I always see it as a little bit like a honeypot. It comes in and then it goes out. I might get a little bit of healing also, but it's not my healing. And that works with the energy. So if you consider like acupuncture and reflexology, you're looking at the chakras, you're looking at the energy of the body, and you are moving the energy around. Because what happens with healing is that we have lots of obviously auric layers, and once it gets, if we're happy and healthy, we can push that away, and that's fine. But if it manages to manifest itself into like a physical problem, it's because the energy is a bit lower in that particular area. So what happens is with this spiritual energy, the healing energy, it goes around the body, and it tries to unblock all of those. Again, if you want to use another visualization, it's a little bit like a winding river, where things and sediment collects around the bends, and it's about pushing that energy and freeing it all up. And for me, that's the easiest way I can describe how the healing energy works. We're shifted. We can't get rid of energy, but we can change it. We transmute it, and that's what the healing energy will do.
Well, you're going through all of this and you're helping people. How do you prevent yourself from psychic attack?
Again, I put up my protection. So every day I do the grounding. I always make sure that I visualize roots from the soles of my feet going down into the earth. I bring around a bubble of protection. I surround myself in like divine light. And I do cleansing. So I will use incense, or I'll use sage, or I'll just go out in nature, or water is very good for cleansing energy as well. So I always have various few routines that I will do to make sure that that energy isn't sticking with me and that I can flow. And then I feel like my aura is there and it's protecting me, and my guides are protecting me. People are going to throw things at us. That is that psychic energy. So for me, it's learning just to kind of like put those barriers up, put that protection up, and then just sending it back as love. I don't believe in sending it back as any negatives. I just send it back to love, because obviously it's coming from a place where they're not in a good place, I feel.
We got 35 seconds with you left. I want to say a big thank you, Allison, for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, tell our audience where they can find you.
Okay, thank you. So again, my website, AllisonGrayMedium.com, Facebook under Spiritual Insights. Sorry, I had a brain fog then. And also on Instagram as Allison Gray Medium. They're probably the three main places you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio once again. Coming up next in hour number 3, we're going to kick things off with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. And then we're going to head to court, as UFO Court with Courtney Marcassani is coming up as well. We got a jam-packed hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up. My name is Dave Scott. We will be right back. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. Allison, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Very much appreciated getting to know you a little bit. This was great.
Yeah, I've had a lovely time. Thank you. Beautiful questions. Really lovely to talk to you. I feel like the connection with us as well, and how that conversation's flowed. So thank you for making me feel safe and not so scared and not so nervous. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you, and I know our audience loved you as well. So thank you very much, and you have a wonderful morning, okay?
Thank you very much, and enjoy the stargazing and the UFOs.
I will. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Allison Gray. What a lovely soul. Lovely, lovely soul. All right. We will be right back. I'm just going to step away, and we'll be right back. All right. UFO Court is almost in session. All excited. Casey Rybeck, how you doing? The chair is what I sit on, Casey. That's what the chair is for. Courtney will be right with us. Don't worry. I know you're excited. I'm excited too. Courtney has good hair tonight, people. I can assure you that. Thank you to Scrub-a-Dub-Dub, W. Decker, Gailey, Dave, and Puck Elf for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, especially those brand new in Grand Junction, Colorado. We very much appreciate you. And our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out the swag as well. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Yodization. Yodization is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. And you can check us out on social media on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let's say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. In 1866, El Ho Canyon, California, situated in Borrego Desert State Park, was little more than a mining claim for prospectors looking to strike gold in the California landscape. Described as one hell of a hole to get cattle out of by a rancher, the area was hard to access and water was scarce. Upon entering the now hiking trail, there's a faux grave marker with the names of those that succumbed to the elements didn't bring enough water to make the journey on the moderate to advanced level 5.5 mile hiking trail. The trail is well maintained and has placards that has information about the flora and fauna one can expect to see in the area. There are several trails in the area to choose from. Some are easy, some moderate, and a few are very advanced. The area is also equestrian friendly if you'd like to go on a horseback ride. Depending on the time of year and the trail chosen to hike, there may be a small stream to pass over at Hill Creek Trail. The preserve is closed in the summer months due to extreme heat conditions. It's open Friday through Monday only, 8 a.m. until sunset each day. So know before you go. Extreme caution must be taken when negotiating this area, as temperatures can and do rise quickly. This is a moderate to advanced trail with no services and no water station. Choose your destination wisely and the trail that best suits your personal hiking abilities. Take plenty of water and wear protective clothing. The area is closed to the public starting in August due to extreme heat conditions. If you're interested in visiting the Hellhole Canyon Preserve, you can find more information online at www.outdoorsocal.com. One of the most recent tragedies due to heat took place in 2021 when 68-year-old Don White was gearing up for the Bighorn sheep count that the park puts on every year. Park Services had to cancel counting the last 2 years due to worldwide health concerns that kept people inside their homes at that time. This described nature lover was from the Culver City, California area. I was excited to be helping with the tally that is part of a citizen science project that's been conducted almost every summer for over 50 years. The project draws in people from all over California and beyond that brave the often triple-digit weather in little more than shaded tarps while collecting vital data for scientists that keep track of the herd and health of these magnificent animals. This is crucial for the Park Service because the bighorn sheep were added to the endangered species list in the 1990s. 90 people showed for the planned event, and many more were placed on a waiting list should someone become ill and unable to attend. The response to the volunteer positions were overwhelming, with a turnout of interested parties bringing in a larger group than in years past. As volunteers made their way into the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, temperatures began to climb, reaching 116 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the Park Service did provide shelter tents for volunteers. However, White was found unresponsive by another of the volunteers in one such tent. Attempts were made to resuscitate the 68-year-old, but White ultimately passed away. It was unclear in given reports as to what the coroner ruled as the ultimate cause of passing, but most speculate it was due to heat exhaustion. And even though he had access to water and had taken measures earlier that month to ensure that he had extra, White had hiked into the area and deposited several bottles of water in anticipation of the heat that July weather in California is notorious for. There's also a creek that runs through the area where White would have been stationed, but because of drought condition, that water source was dried up at the time. On July 19th, tragedy struck as White and a companion were found just after noon by another volunteer. White was pronounced deceased at the scene, with the companion being admitted, treated, and released at an area hospital. A firefighter that aided in the recovery effort was also hospitalized for heat exhaustion. The state made the decision to cancel the herd count out of concern for the safety of the other volunteers and revisited their safety protocols for the event. The count is done in summer months as the bighorn sheep will come in search of water. Don White has been the only victim to succumb to heat during the 50 years of the event.
Thank you, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, for another spooky story. And you want more? Just go to youtube.com/Among the Missing. From the missing to the mysterious, it is always a pleasure to welcome in UFO Court, Courtney Marcassati.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Yes, the best theme intro in radio history for Courtney Marcassati and UFO Court. It's always good to see you, Courtney. You've had an incredibly busy week this week on the East Coast. You're hanging out until it's time to head to Reno for our third annual SOR fan party, which I'm so excited to see you there. But welcome back to the show, Courtney.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back. It has been a busy week. Breakneck speed.
There is so much going on right now. Where do we even start? Do we want to start about what you've been working on? Do we want to get into the Black Vault versus David Grush? Where do we want to go?
I think we should start off with the Black Vault. That appears to be the biggest news, with the leaked emails and what's going on there. I mean, that's just really important. We should probably start there.
All right. So to break it down for our audience, the blackvault.com is run by a gentleman named John Greenwald, who's former guest on this show. And he released some FOIA documents of conversations about Sean Kirkpatrick. And it even included, and this is one that really weirds me out, Courtney. It even included.
Yeah, it is. It's really wild.
Private signal chat conversations, which everybody is trying to figure out, how were these FOIA'd?
And how are they legal? How are they legal? How is the signal chat legal?
Where do we go with this? Because apparently this Black Vault, I'll let you explain it. The Black Vault coming out with these notes basically saying that, David Grush and Lou Elizondo may not be who or give the information that Sean Kirkpatrick wanted, that apparently that Grush was brought to attention because Grush had stated in Congress that he had never received any type of contact from the Arrow program and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, but these kind of proved that that was false. But there are people out there now saying a lot of this is made up. These aren't the real facts of what's going on, really questioning now the FOIA request.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Who's saying that? What's the theory around the FOIA request not being real?
Well, they are saying that Grush, in fact, did not ever hear from Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, and that he, that all of this is somehow made up, that it's a setup to try and make Grush and his testimony look bad, to make it look like he is not telling the truth about actually being in contact with the Arrow program.
Wow, I hadn't heard that. What I had read earlier today was that these were emails between Chris Mellon and Sean Kilpatrick, and they were FOIA'd, and you can see Chris Mellon's name in the email. And so people pointed out, okay, blue is Sean Kilpatrick, gray is Chris Mellon. So right there, I'm trying to figure out who's who in the email dialogue. So at least that was explained, because it could be very confusing who you're reading. The second thing that I picked up on is that in these emails, now I'm not saying whether they're real or not, because I assume they were real because they were FOIA'd, but maybe they're not. I hadn't heard that the whole thing was fake. But in the emails, you hear Chris Mellon clearly stating that Grush had concerns because of his criminal investigation in meeting with Sean Kilpatrick. Like, that's clearly stated in the emails. Sean Kilpatrick is saying, he needs to come to us. He needs to give us his information. And Chris Mellon is clearly saying, because of these specific reasons, he said that he had spoken with you before and on this certain medium, and that he wasn't exactly sure that he should communicate with you because of this, and this reason. And one was because they didn't have the right clearance. Arrow didn't have the right clearance. Two, because of the criminal investigation and the Department of Justice being involved, he wasn't sure if he could trust Sean Kilpatrick. That was the second part that I thought was really important. So when you and I were talking earlier today, that's kind of what I was trying to express. I know that was hard to come through, because you were basically saying, look, this makes it look like Grush is a liar, that he was asked to come and talk to Arrow. He said that he never was approached, and here there's obviously proof that he was. Whereas I read it, it was that he was reticent to meet with Sean Kilpatrick because he was concerned about who Sean Kilpatrick was going to be reporting to, because he had an ongoing investigation. So that was the point that I was delivering today. What do you think? Because you've read through them. What's your analysis?
Well, number one, I'm trying to figure out how text messages can be FOIA'd. Obviously, somebody submitted them as some sort of evidence in the conversation. I just never thought that we would see actual text messages off of the secure app Signal actually coming out in the UFO world. I mean, that is just unprecedented.
Yeah, and I think that it's also at issue because several people today who were involved with all of this said that they would have been crucified, I think was the word, if they had used Signal as government employees, that they would have been crucified for it. So that was a jab at Sean Kilpatrick, saying, you're doing something that we all would have been, thrown in the slammer for. So there's complexities here about the legalities. I mean, this would essentially be like, Hillary Clinton emailing, using her private home email to do government business, right? It's a similar kind of thing. So is using Signal as a government employee to do government work, one, legal? That's a question that somebody needs to answer. A lawyer or somebody who's congressional lawyer who can say whether that communication is allowed or if it's illegal, because that's the first part. If they FOIA'd that and it was submitted, that right there shows illegality.
Todd Turner in the chat room says he can be authorized so long as no confidential info is transmitted. He can authorize it himself. It is allowed.
Sean Kilpatrick can? Is he saying Sean Kilpatrick can
Yes.
allow it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good clarification, Todd. We appreciate your legal expertise.
Yes. Thank you, Todd. We very much appreciate that. But here's the other thing. Chris Mellon put it out on Twitter that, my goodness, I didn't know that private conversations were going to be a part of a FOIA request. He said it very
Right.
snarky on X earlier, and I'm paraphrasing that, and seemed very disappointed that a private conversation would actually hit the government coffers and get out to John Greenwald. Now, I have a real issue here because a lot of people are blaming John Greenwald, who does great work for Black Vault, because of his personal stance against the UFO subject, which he believes in UFOs, but doesn't fully believe the story that has been laid out. He has been highly critical of people like Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, even David Grush for a long time regarding this subject and what their stories are actually about. But on the flip side, with the information that he provides from a research perspective, he's only going by what the FOIAs tell him, and then he releases it. So he's really taking a lot of heat over this, which I'm not too sure I agree with, but that's all semantics to the story. Fact is, when we look at Chris Mellon, very upset. He's a very highly respected political mover and shaker. He has been for the last 20 plus years. And to see him all of a sudden have his private conversations leaked to the public, to the Black Vault, do you think there's some suspicion there that this was on purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Why would John Greenwald FOIA these signal chats if he didn't have foreknowledge of them? How would he know to do that? I mean, that's half the battle with doing FOIA requests anyway in the UFO community, because there's so much hidden information and in different layers using different names, different program names to hide everything. And when people get onto stuff, they change the names or they move locations. So how did John Greenwald know to FOIA these emails? That's the first part. The second part is, it is obviously very unsettling to have a personal signal chat with Sean Kilpatrick leaked into the FOIA records. And so he was clearly documenting his case, Sean Kilpatrick was, and, doing his due diligence so that if this came up and Grush's testimony and why he didn't come to Arrow ever came into question, he wanted to document that. And so maybe the only thing he had was the signal emails to put into the record.
I'm wondering if he was tipped off to ask for any text messages, or if they just kind of threw it in there to see what would the reaction from the public be.
Who threw it in there? Sean Kilpatrick, or do you mean John Greenwald threw the FOIA in there to find out?
I don't think, I'm going to give John the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think he specifically asked for any text messages, but I think somebody on the other side says, hey, we got another FOIA request from Greenwald. Let's throw him a little juice here. Let's give him dessert on top of this.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. When it comes to the FOIA request, did they have to release signal chats? It would seem like no. It seemed like that would be another level of compartmentalization or security that they would have held back actually in a FOIA request because it was a signal chat. So I think it's odd that they did release signal chat messages as a as a legal a legal piece of evidence from a FOIA. I mean, it's unprecedented, I think. I don't think that we've seen this before, not in the UFO community anyway. So that part of it is very novel, certainly, and I think warrants a legal opinion. Todd just said that if Sean Kilpatrick approved it as a government employee, he could use it in that regard. But how about Chris Mellon's information being leaked through the FOIA? He didn't know that was going to be released. Shouldn't his privacy also be considered in a FOIA request as a former government employee using his email?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think, if anything says that there is a setup going on, to me, I think it's this one where, they've been looking at trying to get back at Mellon or Elizondo as much as they possibly can. And I do, without sounding too conspiratorial here, I do believe that there is something a little fishy about that. Why would you release Chris Mellon's email and privacy?
Tim McMillan from the debrief just came on right before I came on to SOR. He came on to the Twitter feed and said that there was somebody else in addition in these signal chats or emails that was Sean Kilpatrick was also talking to, but they weren't included in the signal. They weren't included in the signal discussion that got released in the FOIA. So why wasn't this other individual who was communicating about the same issue, why weren't those signal chats included in the FOIA? I mean, that's another element to this. Tim McMillan goes on the record and said, hey, he was communicating with someone else about the same exact issue as a witness. So why were they left out? I mean, who got to decide here in this FOIA request what exactly got released? And why was it Chris Mellon specifically?
Well, and that's part of the conspiratorial part of this story. That's where it gets very interesting.
I don't think it's a conspiracy to ask, what did the FOIA include? Why was Chris Mellon's personal email address leaked in the FOIA as information? It seemed like that would have been protected from the public. I mean, you see everything else getting blacked out in these requests. That seems like exposure to me for Chris Mellon.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how Mellon reacts to this, because with the amount of power he has with friends in Washington, D.C. and at the Pentagon, it's going to be very interesting to see if he looks to take further action upon this for private conversation being released, or if he just shuts up and starts keeps his head down and keeps working behind the scenes, trying to bring the UFO topic to light here in the public. But do you look at this as a black eye? We got 30 seconds.
Well, I think he has responded. I think that I saw somewhere that Chris Mellon said on X today, I didn't know that my personal email correspondence was going to be included in a FOIA or leaked to the public. So I think he did comment, and I think that means he will pursue it. And I think he will use whatever powers or contacts he still has to get to the bottom of it.
Well, coming from the powerful Mellon family out of Pennsylvania, that there is a lot of money backing that, or if he wanted to take it to court, he could. And speaking of court, this is UFO Court with Courtney Marcassani, and we will be right back getting into more of Unhidden and her Twitter space with Steve.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Clear.
Clear. Clear.
Clear.
Hey, Guns N' Roses song Coma. If you listen to one of the solos, you hear them say, they're working on a guy, and you hear me go, yeah, clear. Then you hear the thump of the paddles on his chest. Then clear. Or then you hear the devil voice, zap him again. and they zap them
Oh
again. Click.
man, I have not heard of that. But speaking of Pennsylvania, I did see GNR at Hershey Stadium with my friend Lynn Moretti. Back in the 90s, we were there. We were all the way almost to the front row, and then she got really sick. So they had to they put her body up and passed her through. And they were like, "Do you want to go with your friend?" And I was like, "No, not really." I want to be in the front row watching GNR, but we got shuttled to the back. So that was a drag, but we did get to see it.
That's right, Dead Fish said it don't really matter. You're going to find out for yourself. Said it don't really matter. Oh, God, I love Chinese Democracy. That's such a good album. Such a good album. You know, I love me some GNR. Love me some GNR stories. So good. So good. Vanessa says, Court is a boss in capital letters.
I'm glad you're telling me what people are saying because I'm on my phone tonight. I can't see the chat, so I can't read the chat and communicate with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think of El Guapo?
Who? Me?
Yes, I sent you pictures of El Guapo.
El Guapo. Oh, your pup. I love El Guapo.
Isn't he
He
awesome?
reminds me of my pup that I adopted I adopted him from a shelter, but very similar. They both have that mixture of Australian blue heeler, and maybe he might be a shepherd too, like part German shepherd. That's what he kind of looks like. Is that what you were told?
Yeah, I don't know what he is, but I do know that he is very much Chihuahua.
Oh, Chihuahua. Is he little tiny?
He's only like 4 pounds.
Oh my God. How adorable. My
Yeah.
God, El Guapo.
Yes. You know, the funny part about it is the original owner of him named him Berlin. Like, how do you name a Mexican dog after a German city? I don't get it. So
Maybe they were Germans. Maybe they were German people.
No, the other her other dogs were Vienna and Paris.
Oh, wow. So she was really into international and foreign relations.
Exactly. So I looked at him when I held him for the first time today, and he cuddled right in. I said, "We got to change your name to El Guapo."
I think it's more fitting, yeah.
And in Spanish,
he is a little cutie.
In Spanish, it means handsome.
Yeah.
Which is totally synchronistic to the fact that every time I see my grandson on FaceTime, I'm like, "Hello, handsome. Handsome. You're so handsome."
Yeah, I'm thinking what would be like little handsome or like little cutie El Guadito. El Guadito. That's very cool. I'm glad that you got a pup. Because you were just talking about dogs the other night when we had that SOR and I came on and, you said, "Oh, I miss my dog." And so you got one.
I know.
That didn't take you long.
No, but you know what? The right one had to come up. The right one had to come up. And
so did. True. Yeah.
Yeah. El Guapo. I
miss my dog. I got to tell you, I've been on the road now for over 2 weeks, and I miss, our snowy treks and having him by my side. I mean, it's really rough. So you do miss him.
Yeah. By the way, apparently Steve went on another space right after he was done with you. I don't know.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Toddance Turner is filling us in now. Yes.
Tell us, Todd. Apprise us of all the details, because I was driving to Maryland, so I didn't get a chance, and nobody invited me on any other space. So, but I knew that he would be.
Court, we're coming back in like 10 seconds here. So just sit tight and we'll make it happen. Thank you, W. Decker, Gailey, Dave, Puck Elf, and Scrub-a-Dub-Dub for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. Here we go in 3 seconds. Get your tinfoil on. It's the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on any major podcast network or on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Courtney Marcassani is in for UFO Court as we are talking about what's going on in the UFO world. You had an extremely popular Twitter space or X space, which is like a live chat going on with a gentleman named Steve that you have been chatting with. And this guy's an experiencer. He's got some aliens.
Yeah, well, I had asked him about that. I'd asked him about his UAP experiences and what brought him into the field so that he could share his, interest in it, when that started. But when I was talking with him before the interview, I was unsure if he ever had really seen a UFO. And so he had. He said he had seen a UFO over where he worked at a certain year. We didn't get to that into the interview, but he has seen UFOs, just to clarify for people that didn't get that in the interview. So I hope Todd chips in here and tell us what he learned from him being in the other spaces so we can get some more follow-up, because I wasn't invited into anybody else's space. Nobody contacted me. Nobody said, hey, Courtney, do you want to, come in and be involved this, which is, I think, is a really interesting thing. Multiple times in multiple spaces leading up to this space, I went into other spaces and I discussed this person. And so people said, oh, we want to follow up with you. We want to follow up with you. We want to do a space with you, but nobody ever did, which I think is really interesting in the X space community. They don't necessarily want to talk to you. They want to talk to your source. So I knew that was going to probably happen. And I knew that he was probably going to go into a much wider community, which that was the hope, honestly, and the intention for him to be able to be in the experiencer community. He wants to talk to experiencers and he wants to be in our community more. So that was just my way of doing some service, and to bring him out in a way that I felt would be safe, as safe as could be, so people can have accessibility to him.
How did you meet him?
I met him through a mutual friend in the UAP community. She introduced me to him. And
when you start getting into these people telling you their incredible stories, what was his?
He had a long time service in the intelligence community. That was one. He was a military veteran. That was two. He did multiple levels of service. He was deployed. He did deployments, so he actually went out on missions in the military. He was college educated. So he had multiple levels of experience, education, background, and was into the intelligence community. And I think those individuals are so highly trained and highly disciplined. It's really interesting when you start talking to them because they understand all the inner workings of the intelligence community. And I think the intelligence community can be one of the most confusing things for researchers to work in and understand. So that was the part that was very, very compelling to me, is that he had all that experience in his background. The second thing that I thought was very moving about his story was that he lost his job because he was an experiencer. He had a direct encounter and, he was forced out. And so I thought that was also compelling and important. And if he felt safe enough for him to share that, to know what happens sometimes when you're an experiencer in the intelligence community, there are real ramifications for it.
How honest and genuine did you take his story?
Very, very. But I also checked with other people. I vetted him. I met with him. I saw his credentials. But yeah, I checked about who he was with like 3 other people, and they all verified his background besides seeing his paperwork.
When he was working for the intelligence, did he tell you the story about what happened and why the encounter he had that got him released from his duties?
Yeah, right away. Right away. That was the first thing that he wanted me to know, that he wasn't in service anymore, that he had lost his job. He was still dealing with it, not just having been, terminated over this issue, being a medical issue, but it was also a security issue, potentially, because he found the program name. He was very honest and forthright about that. And then as we developed a relationship, he filled things in for me along the way. He was always very open, generous, and factual, like to the point, so that if I ever made mistakes or there was something that was unclear, he always cleared things up for me right away. I like that about him.
I like the fact that he was coming out, and I got to hear a little bit of it because I was busy during the day. But from what I was hearing, I mean, this guy has really had multiple experiences with a lot of different parts of the phenomena.
Yeah, well, it seems like he got hooked into it through his research. He was researching basically like the UAP portfolio in his organization. And through his research and study of it, it seemed like what he said was, when you look into the phenomenon looks into you. So he kind of feel like he got somehow encountered this portfolio or this file or the groups of individuals that were working on it, some of who were his friends in his job. And as he started to work on it, then it's where he kind of got brought into encounters over it. And he felt like he was being led to do deeper research and deeper dives, but also bring truth out. Like he had contact experiences and he was sharing that within the agency. And that's when he was, it was brought to other people's attention, and that he left, he lost his job over it. But he felt compelled to get messages that he was essentially getting downloads, is how I understand it. That's how I would categorize it. He might not categorize it the same way, but he was doing meditations. He was taking care of himself. He was trying to be a better person. He was taking downtime and trying to do reflection and mindfulness. And in those moments, he was getting information from NHI. And so he would take these warnings that he was getting and also information that people were working on, that unbeknownst to him, that he didn't know what people were working on, but he would get information and pass it on to those individuals. And they would say, oh yeah, I am working on this. And then they would give him information back, like, here's an academic paper on, Akashic records and quantum computing, which he had no idea that was a thing. And it was. So the information was verifiable to some degree. Now, he got other downloads later after them that he took to people, and he kind of got eye-raising stuff, and people were shocked that he knew. And then he said he knew the program name, and then that's when he was ousted.
Oh my. They weren't pulling any punches with him, were they?
No, and there was people involved in his case that we know, that I'm not going to mention, but he mentioned in the space, there were people involved in it that we all know, who are, retired or, not active anymore. So, it was sensitive, and it cost him his job. And I know that he's been out for 2 years, but he's obviously still vulnerable, and he's still working on it. He's still working on all of that in his personal life. So that's why I wanted to be careful, about him telling him a story and doing it in a safe way.
Is he potentially another one of the 40 whistleblowers that we're allegedly hearing about?
No, he's not a whistleblower. And so a lawyer came on and said, hey, I want everybody who, is a whistleblower to know that they should talk with an attorney before they speak about this stuff publicly. He's not a whistleblower. He is somebody who worked in government service, but he hasn't testified. He has said that all of his research, when he spoke with different individuals at a certain time, was all after he left his service. So he's very clear about delineating those timelines. I wish he was. I mean, his experiences would warrant it, but they don't want to hear from experiencers. They don't want that part of the testimony in the public record. They want to know about the craft and the back engineering.
Of course they do. They want the new toys.
Well, but what he did say that was interesting in the space is he said that program name did get passed on to people in the UAP task force and that it did go to Congress. He had verified that. So the program name that he found actually went all the way up the chain.
Incredible.
I know.
Toddens Turner is saying in our chat room, he also told the story of the other Area 51 encounter.
Was that in the other space, Todd? Are you saying that he followed up and told another encounter about Area 51 in somebody else's space, or are you talking about my space? Because he did talk about the Area 51 encounter in my space. I didn't think he was going to do that. I thought he was just going to tell about his own personal story, but he did get into that.
Oh, that's teasing a little bit. What did he get into?
He told, excuse me. He told about his discussion with. He saw the story on the UAP Task Force forum about the desert encounter that you and I had discussed. So he went into some detail about that, what his direct experience was, hearing that encounter, from the witness, his interpretation of it, and then what that led to in his own research and discovery process. So yeah, he did talk about the desert.
Oh my. And for people who don't know, that was an alleged encounter between some sort of blue-colored extraterrestrials and some soldiers or agents playing in the desert of Nevada, going back to that realm.
Yeah, we've covered that here a couple times. So, that's well documented, but he gave his version of it. And some part of that is him discussing his memory about talking with the witness. And then there was some part of that was like his interpretation, of what that event meant. So he did talk about that. I'm curious for Todd to tell us what he said on the other space, because I did not hear that. So I'm waiting to hear about that. Nicole had also said that there were other spaces going on directly afterward about our space, so I want to hear what all this analysis is about, what people are saying, because they're not saying it to me.
Well, that's all part of the puzzle pieces, right? Get a little bit here, a little bit there, and a little bit everywhere, and sprinkle on some UFO juice, and you got a story that's running around all over the place. I want to switch topics here in regards to Liberation Times coming out about a white paper written by Unhidden, a London-based mental health and well-being charity, releasing its first white paper on exceptional experiences related to UFOs. Have you heard about this?
Oh, sure. Sure, I have. I mean, I did an exceptional experiences talk at the Parapsychological Association last year, where these same writers, one of their PhDs was there presenting at the same time. So yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Did you read it?
Well, I brought it up here for our audience, and I'm going to paraphrase some of it. And that is that in a white paper, Unhidden called for the UK government to start providing proper care for people who have sightings of UAP and exceptional experience. A definition of an exceptional experience crafted by Professor Thomas Raburon of the University of Lorraine in 2010 is as follows: a rare, spontaneous, or provoked experience involving, from the subject's point of view, a non-ordinary interaction with his or her environment. The white paper named the impact of exceptional experiences and disclosure on mental health and well-being, calls on the UK to publicly acknowledge that UAP sightings and other forms of exceptional experiences are real and that people who are affected need better care and support. Chairman John Priestland stated, "We have come a huge way in terms of mental health in the UK in recent years. People's lived experience is now respected and believed in a way it was not 20 years ago, except that is for people who report seeing exceptional things that they cannot explain, where the stigma and sometimes the ridicule remains." Your thoughts on this overall topic so far?
What do you want me to speak to? My direct involvement? Because I was directly involved in linking Thomas Rayburn to Unhidden. They didn't even know who he was. I sent him one of his groundbreaking papers called Symbolization in Exceptional Experiences to them. I sent them the paper to John Priestland. I went and contacted Thomas Rayburn for them, and John and Thomas Rayburn followed up with them. Now, I was trying to get Thomas Rayburn to contact UAP Medical Coalition and get him in touch with our organization at the time, because I was serving for UAP Medical Coalition, but he reached out and he didn't get a hold of UAP Medical Coalition. He actually got a hold of John Priestland. So when I followed up with him, because I asked Ted Rowe, hey, did you hear from Thomas Rayburn? You know, I got feedback back from him. He was in touch with somebody. He said, no, I don't know who he's in touch with. So that was basically John Priestland who got in touch with him. And then they didn't share the resource with UAP Medical Coalition. So I linked that up. They didn't even know about Thomas Rayburn or his work. So one, I can say I had direct experience with that. Two, I had direct experience with them shaping their organization with exceptional experiences, because we were in a stakeholders meeting and one of the commenters said, well, I think this should be termed adversive experiences. And I said, I think that's the wrong move, because adverse experiences are well known in the psychological community. There was a study done called the Adverse Childhood Experience Study out of Kaiser Permanente. It's well known in the psychological and psychiatric world as basically early childhood experiences that influences your health and your mental health and your basically morbidity in your life down the road when you're an adult. So I also said, I think you should use a more neutral term, not adverse experiences. And that's where you hear exceptional experiences. So once again, I feel like this organization was essentially shaped by other hands such as mine. And, you know, you receive no credit for it, no information back. They take your contacts and your leads, they run with it, they shape it into a whole mission statement and a vision statement, yet you're not invited to be included in it. So that was my direct involvement in it.
Do you think you were plagiarized? Do you even want to go there? I can change topics.
I felt very disappointed and disheartened, just like I do right now. I think you can tell my mood shift. I was, looking on Twitter like everybody else, and I saw an abstract being done by one of the people from Unhidden who's directly related. And I thought it looked very similar to my work. So what I did was I rounded up all my work based upon my family's advice to get this handled immediately and potentially do a lawsuit, right? And, I contacted mutual friends with the author to get this straight and set it right. And I got a message back from him. And he said, I don't know who you are. I don't know your work. I asked multiple questions about where did these specific terms come up? How did this area of research and inquiry come up? And so I did talking points, with this individual. And I'm going to let it go because of professionalism and because of courtesy. But I do want everybody to know that, I was the one that put Thomas Rayburn in touch with Unhidden, and I have that documented. I'm also the one that said, I think you need to have a more neutral term than adverse experiences, because not all encounters are adversive experiences that affect people's mental health. So, that just tells you how involved I was and how this organization has taken shape, but yet I'm not included in anything.
And as a former mental health professional that you are, you would recognize this. Somebody like me who's not in the field probably wouldn't recognize what you are saying on that point. To many of us, it's just words.
Well,
But for somebody like you, you're going to recognize that extremely easily, like I could a hockey puck on the ice.
I know my own words. I know my own concepts. I know my own foundational research that I got a graduate degree from, which is basically my thesis. So, yeah, I saw it all come back at me, and I saw the similarities, and I saw the same wording. I saw all the same concepts being used. It's either an incredible coincidence, or somebody knew really well what they were doing and how to word things. So, yeah, it's just discouraging. It's more discouragement by me personally, because I have done a lot of work in this area. So to not get the recognition, to not even be brought into Unhidden as someone who made these connections for them, their early connections in the foundation of their organization, is very disheartening. You see this over and over again. People strip other people's work, their contacts, their network, their information, their ideas. They run with it. And for whatever reason, they don't want to credit that individual. They want to take it as their own and make themselves and position themselves as this is ours, and that it was original or unique, but it wasn't. And they didn't even have the contacts. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just discouraged, but I'll get over it. It is what it is.
We love you here, and we know that your word is always valid and good here. Courtney Marcassani with UFO Court. The gavel has been slapped down as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elga, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Just together, my friends.
We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. I always got to wait for that final symbol to finish sounding before I hit the stop button on the record. Oh, Courtney Marcassani, the audience is absolutely loving you.
Oh, well, I'm glad, because I'm feeling a little down, I got to say, about all this work that I did, all the connections that I've made, and to see this white paper come out, I'm just like, oh my God, no credit given. Nothing. I mean, it's just,
well, you know what?
Take, and then the big F you. Hey, why don't you go F yourself? Pretty much is what they're saying.
I'm going to read you some of the comments from our listeners who love you. Okay. Christine is saying, Courtney, you're a professional. You're the best. Major Lee says, I know I bust your balls occasionally, Courtney, but let me assure you, you are making waves.
He does. Okay? He busts my balls. He's a ball buster.
Nicole is like, it's going to be okay, Courtney. Puck Elf says, just happy to be a teacher and stuff. Joe says, I want to give you a hug, and I don't give out many hugs. Let's see.
Aw.
And, well, Christine Lynn, we love all the hard work you do, Courtney. Let's see here.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you. That makes me feel better. I mean, the thing is, you do it in the service of connecting other people without an agenda. You do it in the spirit of generosity, of connecting people to do good work for the community. But what I find is that spirit of generosity sometimes is not equal in return, especially not by certain individuals. So you give of yourself without asking for anything in return, but then they just take that and run with it. And it's discouraging because then you get locked out of things and you're like, why? If I make these connections and I connect you, wouldn't it make sense that we all work together? But that's not necessarily the case. So you have to be hardened. You have to get used to that kind of behavior, and that not everybody shares with the same generosity of spirit that you do, or the same intentions of altruism. Because that's purely how I work, is altruistic and helping others and trying to do good work, but it doesn't always flow back to you. So it's nice to hear the kind comments. I work really hard. I mean, not only have I worked really hard academically, I also work really hard in UAP studies to try to raise awareness in things. And it would be nice to work together. It would be nice to work together with other people in the community, but I find sometimes the door is shut and you don't get invited in. And so that's the thing that gets a little painful after a while, when the door keeps repeatedly being shut and you're giving people all the good ideas. But what I have learned and what I have taken away from this is I always have good ideas. That's a never ending stream of creativity that comes to me that other people don't necessarily have. So I'll just keep forging ahead and working on stuff, and I'll get ideas that other people don't. And I'll always hopefully be 2 steps ahead.
Well, you always are amazing here on SOR, and you've helped take us up another notch because of your dogged research and your absolutely incredible type of digging for answers, and the people whom you have built relationships with. And honestly, to our audience, if you knew how hard Courtney was working on a daily basis, she has sacrificed a ton to get the information out to all of you guys. A ton. And
well, this was a big step. This was a big step today with Steve. I've been cultivating that relationship and trust with him for over 4 months. And, he wanted to come out and he wanted to tell his story. And so that was something I was able to do, not only for him to keep him safe and in his comfort zone, but also to the community so they could hear his story like I was. Because it's not just for me personally to have this relationship with him. He wants to have a relationship with the community and be able to share with everybody. So once again, that was a lot of work and discussions and trust building. And so I hope the community treats him good. I mean, if they don't, I'm going to have to go out and, do more advocacy, because I really don't want him to get harmed. And it is a vicious place. So, I just hope that people will be considerate and kind and thank him for sharing his own personal journey in one of the intelligence communities, because I think that's one of the biggest mysteries about experiencers in those communities and what happens to them. It's not always good.
Well, you're amazing. Where are you now, by the way?
Today was my mom's birthday, so I came out of Montauk. I left at 6 a.m. I stopped because I knew I wasn't going to make it to Maryland, to my sister's house, and did the space on the way. And then I drove the rest of the way and got here around 6:30 at night. So a 12-hour day today of traveling and doing the Twitter space and then getting here. But it's nice to be with my family for a few days. I'm going to go up to Pennsylvania, move the guns, move my parents' guns that my friend is storing for me, thank God, and then head out to Montana with the guns.
Yep. Whatever you do, if you're on the interstates and you are road raging against Courtney Marcassani, she will use deadly force.
Yeah, well, don't come to my house in Montana and try to mess with me, because I'll have an armory. So, and I'll be prepared. Loaded for
Yeah.
bear, literally loaded for bear.
Yeah, she even has one of them Gatlin guns that's from the front of an A-10 Thunderbolt that she will
You're
mount
so fun.
on top of her SUV that she'll be driving. And if you mess around with her, she will light you up like a bunch of drones over Vegas.
I will protect myself. I will say that. Like everybody's concerned about me. Everybody. My sister's been monitoring my movements, knows where I am all the time. And, everybody's like, be careful, be careful. That's the biggest thing is everybody's like, you need to be careful now. So I will be. I'm taking steps.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And she even has a helicopter strapped to her truck. Okay. So that way, if she
I wish
needs
I had a helicopter. It would make my life a hell of a lot easier.
you're not doing me any favors right now as I try and build you up here, right?
Drop the payload. Drop the payload.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. You need some sleep, young lady.
I took a nap tonight. I tucked my mom in, made sure that she was all good. I told her I would check in with her after SOR. So I took a nap before I came on tonight. I got a few hours. And then I'm going to be watching my mom in the morning for my sister and my brother-in-law while they can go to work. So I'll have some nice time with my mom. I'll probably be here until Tuesday. Then my friend up in Pennsylvania, she has this really fun dinner called Breaking Bread. So I'm going to go up for Breaking Bread with the ladies. It's a bunch of nurses and like occupational therapists. They get together and talk esoteric stuff in the woo. So I got to be there for that. So I'll leave and go up to Pennsylvania on Wednesday.
Very nice. That's sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be a nice connection and gathering with the ladies, the medical ladies.
Sure. For sure. That's awesome. Would it make you feel good to see another picture of El Guapo?
El Guapo? Yeah. Show me El Guapo. That'll lift my spirits.
Yes, I'll give you this one here because he's just so damn cute. Right there.
Oh.
Look at him.
Oh, what a cutie. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me once again. I'm glad that you listened to the little bit of the Twitter space today. It's worth it to listen to the whole thing.
I wish I would have had more time, but my boss spent a little bit too much time in the office today. So
well, I recorded it. That's the good news. I set it up for record. So
Allison, thank you so much. Hold on one second. A little bit. This was great. Oh, there's music. Okay. Allison, thank you so much. Shut up. Sorry, my bad.
Shut up.
Shut up, Dave. Shut up. Yeah. Nicole Sackage actually had a face-to-face time with El Guapo before the show.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Sweet.
to be honest with you, he fell asleep while she was talking to him.
Oh. What a little angel he is.
Oh, he's a cuddle monkey. Yeah.
He's not the only one. I think I fell asleep to Nicole talking to when I was at her house.
El Guapo is 3 years old. He will be 4 years old in 10 days. And by the way, Courtney, since we've turned the clock on to April 20th now, not only is it 420 days, so everybody who likes to indulge in their hippie lettuce, get your snacks out for Willie Nelson, okay, and Snoop Dogg. Uncle Snoop is going to come down the chimney tonight and leave you doobies if you have left him some snacks. Right?
I used to know them as the dank buds in the 90s. The chronic, the kind. That's old school terminology. It shows you how long it's been. The chronic.
Yes. Oh, Dry Toast says, my old lady brought home a White Jack terrier puppy today. Oh boy, she won't leave me alone.
Oh
Yeah,
boy. Oh boy.
That's-
Puppy energy is intense. Good luck. Good
But
luck with that, my friend.
you know what's awesome, Courtney?
What's that?
Today is the 9th anniversary of Alien Carl showing up at my window.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Carl, if you're listening out there, you haven't been back since 2018. It's time to return, my friend. Time to return. I want my flight. I want my pilot's license.
I was
looking
going to
out.
say something about him returning on 420, but I won't. I'm going to.
Awesome.
Nope.
It would be kind of awesome. Not gonna lie. What else was I gonna ask you about tonight? There's just so much shit going on. Right?
So yeah, so much going on. It's like swimming in a fast current. You got to keep up.
Yeah. That's why I'm staying on the beach where it's dry and there's no sharks.
I went to the beach when I was out in Montauk. It was really nice. All right. Well, thanks for having me. I guess I'll go check in on my mamacita, see how she's doing here at three in the morning,
Yeah.
the ungodly hour, and then head back to sleep. I guess I'll see you after the weekend. I hope you have a nice weekend. I'll see you on Monday night.
We'll see you Monday. And hey, look at me for a sec.
Yeah.
From all of us, and I'm speaking for my audience here, what you're doing is really important and you are amazing at what you're doing. And she froze on me. You know, trying to give a compliment and damn signal doesn't even allow it. That's okay. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll let her go. We'll let her go because she's frozen up. If she comes back, I'll tell her. But what Courtney is doing is absolutely amazing, guys. And, you know, she just wants you guys to be as educated in this subject of what's going on behind the scenes. And every time I talk to her, it's like between her and Nicole, I mean, I just finished like an 8-9 hour day at work. And then I get ass kicked with UFO homework from both of them each and every night. And they're doing it for you guys. Okay. And not just you guys in the chat room, but everybody, not only in the UFO world, but everywhere, because they're trying so hard to get this information out. And it's not all peace, love, and light. I'm not saying the aliens, I'm saying the humans involved in this. And we just got to keep it up. Got to keep going, you know, because if the mainstream media isn't going to do its job and work for the public, we need to do it. And that's why it's so important for people like Courtney, like Nicole, and many others to keep digging and going for it. Badass. It's total badass. Literally, what these two ladies, what Nicole and Courtney know on like their pinky fingertip is like 10 times more than I know. 20 times more than I know. And I think I got a pretty good grasp of what's going on, but the level they're at, I'm not even close. They're like in going for their master's degree, and I'm like in grade 2. It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. But I'm going to get my weekend started. I hope you have a good one. Don't forget to tune in on Saturday and Sunday for Sweet Robbie G and After Hours. And then on Sunday before Robbie, we got the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. So make sure you check that on out. I will be back on Monday where my guest will be, who is it? Maya Cowan, UFOs and Anthropology. This is going to be a good one. We're going to talk to Maya. She's one of them smart ladies. Yep. Very smart ladies. Met her on LinkedIn. Yeah. We'll talk soon, everybody. Thank you to our super chatters, Scrub-a-Dub-Dub, Gailey, Aloha Dave, Puck Elf, and W. Decker. Have a great weekend. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.